Ahoy. Good evening and welcome. Welcome. Today we are maxing. I'm hoping that at least one of these monsters looks like a dolphin. Is what I mean. But we're here for the long haul. We're gonna learn. We're gonna be monster experts at the end of this. By the end of this video, I hope that we can look at this, and then when we play Monster Hunter and people are like, oi, they're gonna be, no, oi, actually. You know what I mean? But I'm glad to have you all here. It's been a little too long even. But remember, the organisms in here do not exist, but they are based on true events. We will become the Oi. Exactly. See, look, every stated piece of information, however, does have concrete bases in all of those fields of real biology and ecology. So, I don't know, maybe there are black diablos in real life. We just have to find them. Maybe Tobikadachi is real. Hey! Chills, brother.
The study of monsters is the study of our world itself. They appear in our stories, shape our cities, and resist our progress. So it is that the Hunters Guild, originally tasked with merely hunting these beasts,
Pokemon Go
has become the foremost authority in the research and cataloging of not just monsters and how to hunt them, but their evolution, their ecology, and their relation to us across history. In hindsight, many separate the progression and development of the guild into distinct eras of research, often called generations. The first generation
Monster
was
Hunter
the beginning,
generations.
the first step at organizing human knowledge and expertise to understand monster kind. This was an era that focused on taking the wisdoms of village elders and frontier traditions and compiling them into a scientific basis for study and observation. With this bedrock in place, the Hunters Guild entered its second generation, one that was defined by expeditions to foreign lands, veneration of ancient myths and ruins, and, ultimately, the beginning of serious, organized Elder Dragon research. It was a tumultuous time, but one that led to the discovery of many fascinating inhabitants of our world. The world is filled
the graphics
with a
and wilds are going
endless
crazy.
variety of creatures
Duality.
and monsters.
Welcome, just in time.
Small or large, docile or bloodthirsty, nearly any being one could imagine likely exists out there, waiting to be discovered. One group of monsters that has proven extraordinarily fruitful to research is that of the flying wyvern. Defined by its members possessing winged frontal limbs, this classification is by far the most diverse ever described by the Hunters Guild. It is undoubtedly the most prolific class of monsters, one that has conquered nearly every kind of habitat and niche imaginable. It is also a group that has been extensively studied, so much so that a likely candidate for their origin has long since been suggested. The wyvern rex, an extinct species of monster that is believed to be the ancestor of all flying wyvern. Most reconstructions imagine it as a slinking fiend, whose winged forelimbs were mostly used to walk on land rather than
What?
fly.
What?
From this shared
No, Eva! Hello! Welcome in, everybody. I hope your stream went well. What's going on? Hey! I'm glad you could all join us at the very beginning of our Monster Hunter Ecology. We're going full nerd, watching 5 hours of monster lore. So if you need to rest, lay down and put us on for some listening hours. Please do so. Glad to have all of you.
ancestry, flying wyvern took over the world, spreading their wings across vast habitats and largely abandoning the lifestyle of the wyvern rex. And yet, not all descendants of the wyvern rex are so different.
Let me put myself here so I can actually.
Today, there are 3 known families
Wait,
that
what
are
was
so
that?
different.
Hold on, let me put myself here so you can actually read the iron. So the wyvern rex held its front limbs in a natural downwards position. As a result, it likely walked on all fours, and it was either unable or unwilling to fly. Its wing membranes are believed to have been brittle and thin, merely buds of what would later become true wings. And then what do we see here? Modern flying wyvern generally hold their front limbs off the ground, as their well-developed wings are no longer suitable for quadruped life, with some exceptions, such as the Sergius vulnus. The wings of modern flying wyvern never touch the ground. I'm personally a fan of the modern flying wyvern because wyvern rexes like the teak rex are assholes. I rest my case.
different. Today, there are 3 known families of flying wyvern that still use their forelimbs for walking. And one of them leads a life unlike any other flying wyvern. East of the central
Impressive.
Old World
Very
continent
nice.
lies Fonron, a mysterious
Fonron?
landmass filled with relics and ruins of civilizations long gone. Lost cities and decrepit temples line its surface. And in the south of Fonron lies a sea of trees, an endless expanse of flora, enormous trees and dense bushes forming a massive jungle. The Guild calls it the Great Forest and designates it as a challenging hunting ground. Here, in the shaded wilderness, under the towering canopies, hunters discovered the Narga Kuga, a powerful and swift flying wyvern.
What? Daddy?
Even at first,
What? Sexo Ray Chuki Mayumi. Danny, hi. Welcome everybody. Oh my god, we have so many friends now. Guys, welcome just in time for 5 hours of Monster Hunter Ecology. We're gonna be so educated. You ever wanted to be like one of those cool kids at the cafeteria talking about their Digimons or their Pokemons, and you kind of look at them like, holy crap, they're kind of cool, like low key, and then they have like all the cards and everything. Well, that's gonna be us right now with Monster Hunter. You guys are gonna know all about the monsters. Exactly, we're gonna get smart. Everyone here for the most important stream of all time. That's why it's 5 hours long. That's why we're all gonna sit here through this entire thing. If you have to make some time to rest up, maybe put us on, listen to us in bed so you can absorb the knowledge passively and become smart. Maybe grow a brain cell or two in your sleep. I heard a swollen brain is a good brain. Yeah, rest up for 5 hours. Yeah. Will there be a quiz? Of course. And then there will be a final exam at the end of this for both generations because there's a 5 hour, well, it's not 5 hours, so it's a 3 hour video before this one. Yay! Please look forward to it. I'm full of spaghetti. Are you gonna share? Let's continue.
First glance,
I hope
the
the
Nargacuga
mahjong
stands out from other flying wyvern. It possesses a hard beak for a mouth. Its body is partially covered in jet black fur as well as dark scales, and its wings are able to be partially folded between its long, bladed phalange. It's a bizarre sight,
Just like
unlike
the mahjong cerebral divides were
most
amazing.
flying
Well,
wyvern,
that's what we like to
but
hear.
one that explains
There's like a
itself
ball of
as the
mozzarella at the bottom
creature's
of
life and
the
behaviors
an extra
are
treat.
observed.
Gnarly
Nargacuga
cougar,
are ambush
dude.
predators, meaning that they hunt by sneaking up on prey and pouncing on it, using the element of surprise as a deadly weapon. In a forest this dense, it's a very valuable strategy. For this to work, the predator in question must have certain characteristics: stealth, speed,
You had a not
flexibility,
on that
a
monster.
high degree of
Exactly.
perception in order to locate and track prey, as well as a backup plan should the initial ambush fail. The Nargacuga has evolved to display all of these characteristics. Its thick fur is a compromise aimed at maximizing speed and stealth. A heavy armor shell, like that of other flying wyvern, would both slow the Nargacuga down and make its movements louder. So instead, it grows a coat of hair-like filaments over a simple scale skin. This allows for silent and fast movements while also providing decent protection. While some Nargacuga
like how
may look
everybody's all
downright
wifed up here.
fluffy,
When is
their
it gonna be
fur is
my
actually
turn,
quite
huh?
stiff and sturdy, able to resist a surprising amount of force. The coat's black color, meanwhile, helps the Nargacuga blend into its environment, as it generally hunts at night among the thick foliage, a solid sea of pitch black. Its folded wings and
I know.
serve a dual purpose,
Ooh,
both for hunting and
oh
for
my god.
perception.
Ain't no way.
Nargacuga are classified as part of the false foot wyvern infraorder.
Switches up glasses. Actually, falsefoot wyvern is an infraorder of flying wyvern descendant from the wyvern rex. They inherit their ancestors' general body plan, including a predominantly quadruped lifestyle, but unlike their closest relatives, the true foot wyvern, falsefoot wyvern grow strong and develop winged membranes that can reliably use for flight. And that includes, of course, the genus Nargacuga and Barioth. Do I have white glasses on here? Let me see if I have any of those. Here we go.
A group of flying wyverns that retained the Wyvern Rex quadruped body plan, but that are nonetheless able to use their wings for either limited or full flight. In the Nargacuga's case, its wings can still be used to fly, and, more importantly, to glide between.
Hi Nico, what are we learning today? Oh, Yukin, we are learning about monster ecology and biology. So we're gonna learn the ways of how monsters evolved into their predominant natural livings, their bodily functions, and the way that they live. And we're all gonna learn today, and we're gonna gamble our life away as well.
The massive trees of its home forest.
Here,
this is, however, not the main benefit of its unique wing
exactly.
structure. Its large phalange are highly mobile, able to be swayed and angled
Any day it's a good day as long as
I'm
spending it with you guys.
This mechanism is what folds and unfolds the wing membranes, but it also enables the Nargacuga's most fascinating ability. by
Yeah, no. You see, that just means that we have each other at the end of the day, no matter what, right, guys? That's enough. No, hold on. I have to move myself. We have to move each other so we can actually read the Uh, okay. Um, Despite its excellent eyesight, the Nargacuga utilizes a unique type of echolocation as a supplemental perception mechanism. By rapidly folding and unfolding its phalange, the wyvern produces a distinct sound. As the sound waves bounce around and back to the Nargacuga's ears, it forms a mental map of its surroundings.
rapidly shaking the phalange.
And this is an artistic depiction of Nargacuga tenebris using its echolocation.
A distinct
Yeah, like
sound
that.
is created that is then used for echolocation. As the sound bounces around the environment, the wyvern's excellent hearing is
And
able to
bounce on
map out
these.
its surroundings accurately, an extremely useful supplement to the Nargacuga's acute eyesight, and an invaluable tool.
Also, is this in-game lore or made up? No, this is actually in-game lore. Like, this is actually real. They really earned all of this over the past 20 years or so.
In the dead
That's
of
why
night.
it's
These phalange
really interesting.
also serve as one of the wyvern's primary methods of attack. The outermost phalange sports a sharp edge, making it a powerful blade that can cut.
Actually, and Monster Hunter has lore. It can be real. It actually absolutely does. I think it was Kai that mentioned that Monster Hunter is like, it's like the Dark Souls of like not games that are not Dark Souls. And like Dark Souls, it has deep lore. Like they really went hard on this. I don't know. We had no idea. Also, phalanges. You can think of them as kind of like finger bones, like your hands, like your fingers. The bones are called phalanges. Same with your toes. So if you think about it, this is kind of like a massive like toe bone.
Through both foliage and flesh.
XD.
While this can be useful for cutting through the
I'll
dense
wait for
flora of the jungle,
slots. Hip
this
check.
is mainly the Nargacuga's preferred method of killing prey. When lunging at its target from the darkness, Nargacuga are known to swing their wing arms forward with the bladed phalange extended, slashing their victim and often killing them instantly, if not outright cleaving them apart. Should this somehow not be enough, it does have a secondary weapon it can use, its long, prehensile tail. Nargacuga can swing their tails with astonishing force, and very few targets can survive a direct hit. This tail swing also has a much wider range than one might expect. Specialized cartilage that sits between the bones of the tail.
When at rest, the bones in the tail are compressed, making the tail appear shorter than it actually is. When swung, however, the centrifugal force affecting the tail caused the cartilage between the bones to extend, revealing the true length of the tail. Oh, whoops, kind of move my glasses. There we go. Meant to move myself. Well, my glasses are kind of freaking out. Okay, there we go.
Allow the entire limb to stretch like rubber when affected by the centrifugal force of the swing. This extends the reach of this attack, letting it hit victims even when they thought they were at a safe distance.
True.
And if a target should somehow escape the blade and the tail, the Nargacuga has one last ace up its sleeve. At the tip of the tail, the wyvern grows a bundle of specialized scales, similar in shape to long feathered darts. Unlike feathers, however.
And I have to give them a lot of credit for how much, like, did they really do a whole PowerPoint slide for every little thing for 5 hours? People are out here making, like, Discovery Channel production quality, Documentaries basically for free. I don't know, maybe they get like a huge ton of ad revenue from this.
These scales have sharp edges and can be detached from the tail at will. This grants the
I really look
Nargacuga
up
a
to creators like
long-distance
this.
attack, wherein it swings its tail above its head to launch these dart
Well, where
scales
did I
at
get this
escaping
footage?
prey. Their sharp edges cut through victims like blades, and can still be dangerous even if they miss. Stepping on one that has landed on the ground is sure to tear up the unfortunate victim's feet. Equipped with all of these adaptations, the Nargacuga is a shrewd predator and an overall prolific monster.
Hell, I
It
fell asleep to
spends its
5-hour
nights
Genshin Lore. I
hunting
don't remember a
while
single
resting during the
thing.
day. It was long
Well,
considered to be
this
strictly
one actually has
nocturnal,
good lore,
but
so maybe it
recent
might have a
observations have
difference this
shown
time.
that it can indeed be active during the day, if only to sunbathe and hydrate itself. As specialized as this wyvern is for quick kills and bursts of speed, it does not seek out prolonged contests of power. However, like all wild
Well,
animals,
explain the
it
50-minute
will
hunt I once
sometimes
did.
encounter a rival, be they human or monster, that must be driven off one way or another. During these territorial
Even the
disputes,
sensei
the
must learn.
Nargacuga employs a terrifying threat display. By extending its phalange as wide as possible, the wyvern shows off its sharp blades as a warning. Simultaneously, its tail will begin twitching high up in the air as the dart scales on its end stand erect, bushing the tail tip and displaying the Nargacuga's weapons.
That's like the fifth like euphemism he's used in a row. Like, what is the Nargacuga into me or something?
Finally, as the wyvern grows more agitated, its most notorious display emerges.
It's not that it was bad. It was that I hadn't gotten to most of the points
Around
myself.
the
My brain
eyes and
automatically
inside
wipes
the
spoilers
ears,
from my
the
memory.
Nargacuga's skin
After
is
there,
particularly
that's actually
translucent,
incredible.
allowing blood vessels to be
That's
seen
good.
clearly. When enraged, these patches of skin begin to glow with a bright red due to increased blood flow,
I mean, I
giving
listen
the
to a lot of
Nargacuga
stuff
a
too.
frightening
I
appearance.
don't remember like any of that.
This trailing
Just
red
helps me
glow
sleep.
around its eyes is the final warning any opponent will get. The wyvern will attack very soon after it appears. In prolonged combat, the Nargacuga can stand its ground admirably. Between its violent wing slashes and devastating tail slams, it can prove a
I
fierce
wish my
opponent.
brain would do that. I'm cursed with
It is
memory.
also an intelligent creature, leaping
Does
around
that
the field
extend
to
to your dreams
reposition
as well?
itself advantageously, performing complex strategies, and even
I'm sure I'll forget
escaping
all of this
man-made
within an
traps
hour.
with ease.
I'm in a food coma.
It
I
can
know
run
that.
into trouble
It's
under certain
okay.
circumstances, though.
Maybe
Its eyes
knowing
and
at
ears
least the
are
very least
exceptionally sharp,
that
and as a
Nargacuga
result,
have it
very
kind of freaky for
sensitive.
you will be
Both
a forever
senses can
thought.
easily be overwhelmed by loud noises or flashes of light, respectively. Should this happen, the Nargacuga will often fly into a wrathful frenzy, lashing out with none of the intelligence and cunning it usually displays. While it is a truly ferocious threat
Yo,
in this
07
state,
to the
its
cameraman just
brutish
walking around
behavior
like this.
and single-minded
Holy.
obsession can be exploited and outmaneuvered by its foe. Nevertheless, the Nargacuga is generally a very successful genus. Even before the wyvern was officially discovered and described
I
by the
accidentally
Hunters
had like
Guild,
3 servings of spaghetti
equipment
because I
and
used
weapons
Angel hair.
featuring its dark scales and fangs
You know,
would sometimes be
pasta
spotted on
packages are really
foreign warriors
deceiving with how much
passing through
you can make
Dundorma.
though.
Following
guilty
its
of the
discovery
same
in
thing.
Fonron, Nargacuga were found to live in a wide variety of habitats across all 3 known continents. With such proliferation naturally comes variation.
Whoa. No way, they got the map. Yeah, they actually got the map though. You know, if I lived somewhere, you see this one over here. I don't know if you can see it. But it says Chico. Oh, you fucking cheeky, mate. That's where I'd live. Is that Britland? Yeah.
Even within the common black species, Nargacuga tenebris, there are different types of Nargacuga depending on specific habitat and ancestry. In the Great Forest
Oh, I
alone,
appreciate
various
it.
color morphs of Nargacuga are known.
Investigations into the Great Forest of Funron have confirmed that Nargacuga display various color morphs in their fur, ranging from jet black, numerous shades of blue, all the way to white. What exactly determines this variability is unknown. Some research suggests it is a result of different Nargacuga lineages.
Exist. While the majority
Oi,
sport the
piss.
iconic jet black fur, individuals with varying shades of blue and even white albinos have been spotted in the past. While it isn't understood yet quite how this color variation works, it seems that the rarest kind of Nargacuga tenebris has a deep blue coat. Regional variation is also a factor, as different environments cause
I like
the
how every
same
time I blink, I
creature
push up my
to
glasses.
prioritize different aspects of itself as it spends time there across the generations.
Because I don't have hands.
There are
What does that
generally
flash?
believed to be
I
3 regional variations of Nargacuga tenebris, corresponding to the 3 continents. Fonron Nargacuga were discovered first, and are defined by the predominantly arboreal lifestyle, as well as an overall slender frame. They
Soon
can
it will be
sometimes
time
be
to take my
seen
Kai
walking
pills.
only on their hind legs,
I love
and
the
will
Kai
use their
pills
wings
because it's like
liberally
they're
to
the same
glide
color
and
as
fly
Kai.
between trees.
Man,
These Nargacuga can uniquely be tracked through the trees by observing branches.
despite its body structure resembling the quadruped wyvern rex, Fonronian Nargacuga are able to walk bipedally and will do so when calm. Their wings are used in gliding between trees, and their wing blades leave characteristic marks in the tree bark when they fly past.
The wyvern's wing blades leave small, shallow cuts in the bark, a telltale sign of a Nargacuga's path. Old World Nargacuga inhabit the central continent
Yeah,
and
no
are
kidding. I bet
noticeably
this one must have
larger
been at
than
least
their
a terabyte. There's
Fonronian
no way.
counterpart. This additional
Especially,
muscle mass
what is the resolution of this? It's up to 1440p, 60 FPS. Yeah.
is a result of a changed lifestyle. The Old World continent holds many wonders, but one thing it does not have is a massive forest with trees as large and sturdy as those in the Great Forest.
Like, there's no way.
Due to this,
60
Old World
FPS,
Nargacuga
1440p.
do not
Holy.
predominantly live in trees. While some
It
regions
might have
may
taken
have
the whole
isolated
year since the
trees
last
large
video
enough
to
to rest
upload
on,
this.
such as the misty peaks near Yukumo, Old World Nargacuga generally dwell on the ground, and can therefore afford to be heavier and more muscular than the light and slender Fonronian variation. New World Nargacuga are the most drastic regional variation. Like the Old World variation, they too live primarily on the ground, displaying a similarly enhanced musculature. While it does prowl the ancient trees of the New World, those trees are so thick and
I
large
think this is the
that they are
first
essentially
monster I'm attracted
indistinguishable
to.
from solid
You know,
ground, thus
you
not
wouldn't be
encouraging
the first
arboreal
one who expressed
adaptations.
that in recent
The
memory.
New World's
I
Nargacuga's
like your
front
taste.
limbs are especially bulky.
In the New World, Nargacuga display an enlarged musculature in their forearms and walk exclusively on all fours. They got me walking on all fours, alright? You know what I mean? They have never been spotted flying or gliding and seem to not follow the arboreal lifestyle of their Fonronian cousins. While they do roam the ancient tree, its branches are so thick that it is functionally indistinguishable from solid ground, likely the reason why no arboreal adaptations are necessary to live in this zone.
Perhaps as a consequence
yo.
of this variation exclusively walks on all fours and, more shockingly, has never been observed flying. It is believed that their wing membranes are entirely vestigial. Their other major difference compared to the other variations lies in the tail. The tail spikes of New World Nargacuga do not have smooth, sharp edges, but are instead serrated and jagged. They do not cut as much as they rip and tear, causing severe
Rip and
bleeding
tear
and
until it's all
horrific
done.
open wounds. This gives New World Nargacuga an additional
I can't
option
believe
while
that the
hunting.
handler and
Should
her
the
hunter
initial
found
killing blow
this
fail,
monster in the new world.
the
That's
wyvern can
crazy.
simply retreat and stalk its
Can
prey
rip
from
and tear
afar,
into me, alright.
watching it bleed out and perish due to the injury sustained from the tail spikes. Besides the regional variations within
do you
Nargacuga tenebris, the genus Nargacuga contains 2 more species, both rarer than the black species. In lush, humid environments, one may find
Whoa.
the green Nargacuga, a
Nargacuga, but
species of
green.
Nargacuga sporting an eponymous green coat of fur. While the black...
What the hell does eponymous mean? Hold. We need to find out what eponymous means. Hold on, chat. Eponymous. Someone at something named that. Oh. Sure. Get out of my swampacuga?
Black species uses its dark coloration to blend into the night. The green Nargacuga's coat is more specifically suited to hide among foliage.
I don't know, I
This
think that one
difference
is
has
just like,
led guild scholars to theorize
lime green.
that the green Nargacuga might hunt partially or even mainly during the day, where discoloration would just be more advantageous than a black one. Green Nargacuga have also been noted to utilize their tail more often and with more precision than the black species. The tail is also where the green Nargacuga's other major adaptation can be found. Like the New World Nargacuga, its tail spikes are modified. Instead of having a sharp edge or a serrated
it might be green
edge,
because it's
the tail spikes
like
of the green Nargacuga are blunt, with special fibers that maximize impact.
Oh, no, it prefers
Instead
the
of cutting or tearing,
hammer version of
these
its
spikes
tail.
are
Okay,
meant to bludgeon targets, breaking bones and causing concussions. The third species of
Prefers to
Nargacuga
bonk.
is so exceptionally rare that its actual natural habitat has not yet been determined. It has only ever been sighted in the ruined cities of Fonron, ancient sites that often attract powerful monsters.
I want to pink
Here,
Nargacuga.
at night, hunters have very rarely laid their eyes upon the lucent Nargacuga. Despite appearing in Fonron, its musculature is quite developed. Its silvery white coat stands out drastically compared to its cousins. This coloration does not help with camouflage, because it doesn't...
I don't know, I feel like out of all of the Nargacuga, this is the one with the best camouflage. Like, look how well it blends in. YouTuber, actually?
Need to. In a truly...
Actually, did you know that navy blue is a better camouflage over black in dark environments?
astounding example of evolution's
I know, right?
ingenuity.
It's pretty.
The lucent Nargacuga can go invisible. This ability is not yet fully understood, but it appears that through a complex interplay of the wyvern's fur, the underlying scales, and its highly reflective wing blades, the lucent Nargacuga's body is able to bend moonlight in a way that creates a mirage, rendering the creature invisible. This seems to be a...
You know how they used to talk about how they were creating like invisible suits for the military and stuff like that, where it would just be like a bunch of mirrors reflecting light? Did that ever like become a thing?
A highly
I'm
delicate
not looking forward to
process,
fighting this.
as the wyvern is extremely protective of its fur.
It's a fun one.
It also only seems to work with moonlight. Sunlight may be too strong for the effect to work properly. It also needs the night to be foggy, as lucent Nargacugas seem to avoid clear nights.
I guess that's a fair point.
Either way, this ability makes the lucent Nargacuga an
Well, it's red, white, and
unparalleled
blue.
predator at
God
night,
bless America.
able to vanish into thin air at will. Like many of the other Nargacuga variations, it also has its own unique tail adaptation. Its tail spikes contain a deadly venom, which
America.
makes the lucent Nargacuga's invisible ambushes nearly impossible to survive. While the production of this venom is not yet understood, it seems to require physical effort to
Okay, chat. Hear me out. So, no, it's not going to be that kind of hear me out, okay? If this one is like the deadliest, the most insane, like it's a stealth assassin with venom, why is it also the rarest? Huh? That doesn't make any sense. It's just like elves in lore, where elves are always like highly intelligent, agile, and live like 500 years, yet they're always like extinct in some like random forest. It just doesn't make sense. Is this really evolution or what?
activate. Lucent Nargacuga have to shake their tail to set up their venomous spikes
Because
before
Capcom
being
I
able
guess
to
so.
use them.
I don't know.
With such a prolific lifestyle, diversity of species,
There's like
and
3
wide
of them.
habitats,
I
it
I
should come
suppose
as no
so.
surprise, perhaps, that Nargacuga are also able to produce deviants.
And also they've been rarely seen. Well, it's because they're invisible, duh. Oh my god, these guys are idiots. Usually, abnormal individuals of known monster species are classified as variants, but in rare cases, the extreme power and danger of these anomalies warrants a separate name, deviant. Deviants are as rare as they are destructive, both from unique, specific circumstances. Deviants are immensely powerful and often much more aggressive than regular individuals. Sightings of one result in rapid guild mobilization, and only master hunters who have additionally received special permits are allowed to face a deviant. Yo, deviant art?
Abnormal
Personas?
individuals created by specific factors
Coincidence?
and
No.
generally characterized by posing an immense threat to their environments and sometimes themselves. Deviants only occur very rarely.
No, I'm not
but with
shitting
a
on the. I'm
population
shitting on the
as thriving
ecology.
as
It
the
just doesn't make
Nargacuga,
sense.
it's merely a matter of time. Deviant Nargacuga are called Silverwind Nargacuga and occur when an exceptionally skilled Nargacuga reaches old age.
Whoa.
The name
So
is
if they don't get
derived from
old,
the
it's
white
actually a
streaks
skill issue?
that pepper the aging wyvern's coat. While the natural lifespan of Nargacuga is not known, which is the case for most monsters, it is assumed that in order to become a Silverwind, an individual must surpass the species' regular lifespan somewhat. Silverwind Nargacuga are fierce individuals. Their lifetime of experience makes them cunning hunters, and untold years' worth of practice has honed their attacks to perfection. Despite their presumed age, these wyvern haven't slowed down and can easily keep up with their younger brethren. They also display increased precision with their tail spikes. But what truly sets them apart is one ability, unseen in any other confirmed creature. The tail of the Silverwind Nargacuga can
Shoots
reach
silver wind.
absurd speeds when swung, to the
Can we
point
have this
where
a
it
pet,
produces
Nicola?
gales of wind pressure that
You know
shoot
what? It's
forth
kind of
from
like
it.
adopting an
These
old dog from
blades
the
of
shelter.
air are not mere
We probably
breezes.
should.
They are able to cut
We
through
can have
flesh
one.
like a sword, killing prey from afar. Combined with the wyvern's speed, the Silverwind Nargacuga is exceptionally dangerous, and the
It's a
guild keeps a
win-win
close
scenario,
eye
am I
on
right?
them whenever they emerge. Hunters seeking to slay a deviant must have a special permit. It is creatures
life.
such as these that remind us just how diverse the
Speaking of
world
cut
really
pills,
is.
of course.
There
Don't
appears
forget
to be
about
no
us too
limit
soon, okay?
to the variety and ingenuity that nature is capable of. So what else are we to do but to record, study, and marvel at this world of monsters?
That was a great video, guys. I'm inspired. The Dancer of Doom.
To study our world is a privilege, and one that the Hunters Guild takes very seriously. While it is first and foremost an organization aimed at protecting civilians and pushing back against the threat of monsters, their academic work is equally as impressive. Libraries across all major guild cities have amassed vast troves of knowledge on monster behavior, ecology, anatomy, and more. This wealth of information is carefully curated and categorized by scholars and scriveners, forming the body of scientific prowess the guild now holds so dear. Many of these insights were collected as a result of hunters facing these creatures day in and day out. And in turn, the more knowledge is accrued, the more it aids in further hunting operations. Thanks to these efforts, the Hunters Guild is among the most prolific curators of scientific advances and breakthroughs known to us
I'm part
today.
of the research
One
guild.
of its greatest achievements is the creation of various phylogenies, diagrams that describe the relations between species of monsters. It was an arduous task, and one that is updated frequently to this day. But even more impressive are the attempts at creating such lineage trees for extinct species. Despite many difficulties, the
Also,
guild has
why are they called monsters if they're literally just the fauna of this world? Okay, well, let's go look at the definition of monster. Let's see if they got their terms right. Maybe there's like an extra meaning. Merriam-Webster. An animal of strange or terrifying shape. One that is highly successful. Yeah, see? See, they're highly successful. That's why they propagate. That's why they're monsters. What monster? I'm too busy looking at Nick.
managed to
Oh,
maintain and analyze a
really?
respectable fossil record.
Meaning in Hindi. What's it the first option?
While it has obvious gaps, such as jungles, which produce little to no fossils, it is a wide enough collection to allow for some assumptions and reconstructions of the past to be made. The single most successful reconstruction of this kind is the lineage of bird wyvern. Classified into the suborder Avepoda,
It's the glasses?
bird wyvern are an
Yay!
abundant
I knew
class of monsters
it
that
was the
can be
move.
found in nearly any habitat. They are also a very ancient group
I made sure to ask for glasses on my new one as well. It's
of
only
monsters,
right.
with its earliest representatives appearing even before the long-gone wyvern wrecks.
So I won't have to
This
paste an
wealth of
image in my
species and
face.
ancient lineage made them the perfect starting point when trying to construct
Based
a
off Nico's
possible
actual
history
glasses
of
in real
wyvern,
life.
and so the guild went to work. One extremely helpful moment in this effort was the discovery of a certain
glasses.
bird
I wear
wyvern,
glasses. I'm no
whose
nerd.
body and life gave many clues to those of its ancestors. In the deep jungles of southern Fonron, researchers discovered a living fossil, the Hypnocatrice.
Yo, mama.
Despite being covered in bright feathers said to shine in 7 different colors, this bird wyvern long eluded the guild. Fonron is vast, and the Hypnocatrice seems to have a fairly small habitat range, while also being somewhat
See, at
rare.
least we learned something
But
from
this
this
discovery
experience.
was worth it, because the Hypnocatrice is a creature whose body has not changed much for millennia. Isolated in this deep green paradise, it did not need to buckle under many evolutionary pressures, standing as a remnant of species long gone. It was thanks to insights gained through its discovery that the history of bird wyvern was finally reconstructed thusly. Long ago,
So what I want to know is, why is it that these guys with 2 legs are the ones that lived and survived longer, or are biologically more successful than the ones with 4 legs. More legs, more better, right?
Before even the wyvern rex, there was a wyvern
They don't
now
even have
called
hands.
Iguru Ebisu.
Took my Kai
It
pills.
is
Kai lives
considered
another
the
day. Oh, okay, good. The worry is that Kai will also disappear. And the Iguru Ebisu is believed to be the originator of the entire bird wyvern class, and appears in the fossil record even before the already ancient wyvern rex. Most reconstruction imagined when large feathered wings, long and stiff legs, and spear-like beak that was likely to be used to harpoon prey. They may have been
the
extremely
originator
adept
of
at
all bird
flying.
wyvern and the first member of Avepoda. It was a large feathered creature
Kaptigo, Chuki. Thank you. Do it slow. Glad you could stop by
that
it.
is believed to have been an extremely agile flyer, outmaneuvering prey while airborne and skewering them with its spear-like
Is
beak.
he good at?
Its long legs were quite stiff and inflexible by comparison. For reasons that are currently still unknown, the Iguru Ebisu split off into 2 separate lineages. One descendant line began losing its wings gradually, developing stronger legs over time. The earliest known
Originator of
representative
my
of this lineage
suffering.
is called the Keputosu,
Oh, just
a
will go. Okay.
somewhat
I
pitiful
hope you have a good
creature
rest of your
caught
day.
between evolutionary pressures.
Don't
This
actually go to bed
featherless whelp
immediately.
had
The Kapitosu was a short-lived descendant of the Iguru Ebisu that is nonetheless established as the 2 major groups of bird wyvern, the runner wyvern. The creature had degen wings and growing legs, showing the early signs of terrestrial lifestyle.
degenerated wings that were bad at flying, and still developing legs that were bad at running. Despite this, it managed to survive long enough to spawn one of the 2 major groups of modern bird wyvern, the runner wyvern,
That's
flightless,
kind of how I describe
raptor-like
my life up to
creatures.
this point. You know, I
The
just
other
managed to live long
descendant of
enough.
Iguru Ebisu, meanwhile, retained its wings and began iterating on its ancestors'
Oh, okay,
existing
so
body
this one is the
plan.
non-degen version.
The oldest representative of this branch is the Borudoru, which had a much more
Borudoru.
developed beak, strong wings and stronger legs, and hard scales interspersed between its feathers. It gave rise to the second major group of modern bird wyverns, the true bird wyverns, defined by their large, functional wings. And this is where the discovery of the hypnocrates was essential.
It gave
It
rise to
is nearly
Monster Hunter Rise
identical to the
back in the sun.
Borudoru, so much so that it was initially suggested to be a survivor of that exact species. However, more detailed analysis
Are we
has
watching
shown
like
that the
extinct footage?
hypnocrates is something equally as exciting. A direct, mostly unchanged descendant of this extinct creature, possibly the oldest extant species of bird wyvern. Thus, its physiology and ecology can give us a glimpse into that distant past. Like its direct ancestor, the
Wait, you know that this footage was so ancient? Because the dude is using just the sword, not even the sword shield, just the sword.
Thus, its physiology and ecology
Those
can
blue
give us a
little shits
glimpse
right there.
into that distant
Agreed.
past. Like its direct ancestor, the Hypnocrates has a varied diet, including both plant and animal matter, with the latter being its preferred nutrition. Its bizarre beak aids in this.
And not just
The
those blue
outward
ones, all
angled
of them.
spikes jutting from it help
Everything
both
is out
in
there to
tearing through
hurt you.
fibrous plants like ferns and shrubs,
Based on the
and in
juice,
skewering
exactly.
small fish near the
That's why we were
surface
playing
of
the
the
monkey
water.
game. It's just a
In
little
addition to
tutorial
this, it can also
so we
use
can
its
understand what's
legs
going
to
on
grab
here.
hold of prey before eating it. Its beak can, however, not chew, and so,
Chew?
like many other known animals, it must rely on gastroliths, small rocks that it swallows regularly that sit in the stomach and help break down the larger fibers.
What? Okay. I didn't know that animals unironically eat rocks as part of their diet. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. But it's not just them. Gastroliths? We were just they were right.
哎，老板你好，哎你好，来一份这个爆炒鹅卵石。好的，怎么卖的呢？16一份，醋一半，辣椒一半，石头香又香啊。这个是哪里的特色呀？这是美的特色。
Well, $2 for that? Holy!
那我吃完这石头还要还给你不？不用了，可以带回去做纪
You can
念。
have
一
them.
时长沙带，红走时还在啊，回去可以继续做啊。好好。
You can cook it at home. It's not so good. It was invented centuries ago by boatmen short on food. I wonder why. Man.
哎，老板你好，哎你好，来一份这个爆炒鹅卵石。好的，怎么卖的呢？16一份。
That's crazy. What if you accidentally swallowed some of the maybe don't eat rocks then? I don't know. Do you get the rocks back after sucking it? No. He said no need. You can have them as souvenirs. Oh, so nice.
The hypnocrates may
So that's all I see when I see this right now. This is talking everything in China's fixed years old. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's just propaganda. It's like, oh, they suck rocks and everything and eat bats. That's crazy.
ingest
No
on
way.
occasion. Curiously, while many animals are known to use gastroliths, the hypnocrates is the only known bird wyvern.
Wait. True? Can we get a confirmation on this? Seals do it too? What? I didn't know that they sucked rocks too.
To use them. Prowling the great forest, the hypnocrates lives a simple and
And
solitary
buildings are made out
life,
of tofu.
only pairing up during the mating season when their feathers become even more brilliant. Sometimes, a hypnocrates may encounter an enemy,
They're made out of like
be it
popcorn
another bird wyvern,
styrofoam.
a larger predator, or even a hunter. It is in these moments that the creature shows its cunning nature. Hypnocrates are generally somewhat timid creatures, uninterested in direct conflict.
I just love to polish
But
rocks.
they are also known to be
that actually seems
opportunistically
fun.
cruel.
I don't
If
know about
they see a
actually
chance
eating
to
them though.
bully and beat a weaker opponent, they will absolutely do so. In these cases, the hypnocrates is a brutal foe, kicking and pecking its target to death fairly effectively. But should it decide that the opponent is in fact too powerful, the bird wyvern will use a special escape tactic. In its body, the hypnocrates has
What
a
if they
special
actually
organ
like the
called a
rocks?
sleep sac.
I mean, they made a whole
This
street
structure
dish out of it.
collects a certain kind of chemical from the bird wyvern's diet. Soporific substances, found in the sleep herbs and sleepy fish that the animal eats. These substances are then concentrated in a sleep sac as a mucus, which hypnocrates can spit out of its mouth on command. This mucus can knock out large creatures near instantly, putting
Maybe I
them
need
into
to have
a
one of
deep
these at
state of
home so I
sleep.
can actually go to sleep.
Using this ability,
Rocks are
the
friends,
hypnocrates
not
can
food.
incapacitate an enemy and either
I
choose to
remember
kill the
Hector.
vulnerable foe or simply escape
Rock
the scene.
friend.
This sleep mucus gives the hypnocrates an extremely potent weapon, and as a result, few monsters dare harass it. Its tough scale armor under its feathers is also much more resilient
Still
than one might
bleeding?
expect, so it is by no
No.
means an
I'll
easy
spit on you so you
target.
fall asleep.
That
What?
has, however, not stopped everyone,
Chat,
namely
that is not ribs.
humans. Both hunters and poachers have on numerous occasions gone out of their way to hunt hypnocrates due to its highly precious materials. The feathers on the backside of the wyvern are beautiful, and a popular component for making lavish jewelry.
I see. So they're extinct now,
Additionally,
right?
hypnocrates are known to routinely spit out their old gastroliths once they become worn down, abandoning
Yeah,
them
that's
and
their
searching for new ones. Old hypnocrates gastroliths are called bezoar stones and have a distinct surface carved by the wyvern's stomach acid. They are considered quite valuable by blacksmiths due to their many uses in armor crafting.
What?
Despite the value of hypnoc materials, the guild only rarely receives requests or assignments related to hypnocrates. They tend to stick to remote regions such as the Great Forest of Funron, where they usually don't bother anyone enough to justify a hunting quest. The only hunters that still regularly cite hypnocrates are those of Mesoporta, a district of Dundorma that employs its own semi-independent union of hunters
How'd she know?
called
Just
the
associating
Frontier
the
Corps.
person it came from.
These frontier
That's how she
hunters
knows.
claim to have seen and fought many different kinds of hypnocrates, bright purple and gold and white. While the guild highly values the skill and experience of the Frontier Corps, these reports have so far not been verified. Creatures such as the hypnocrates stand as vanguards against time. Pillars of an era long gone that keep alive the past through their very existence. And it is our duty, and our privilege, to study and observe them as we unravel ever more about this world we call home.
The blood? Ain't no way. Now that you fished a shoe, I should put like Jordans in the fishing pool, and it's like worth like $700.
Life never stands still. The world is a hectic place. Everything is always on the move. It is never quite enough to simply capture a snapshot of life at any given instance. Part of nature's beauty lies in the ways it shifts and changes. The land comes to life in a concerto of color one day, to then enter a deep white slumber on another day. The sky dances in shapes seen never before and never again, not content with ever halting its performance. And of course, young, fragile creatures mature, evolve, age, and die. Every moment is precious, every insight valuable. This specific kind of insight,
precious like you
the
guys.
ability to study subjects across time, is a luxury the Hunters Guild usually lack.
Wait, did they just put like pictures of ducks and rats and like little piggies, and then they put this guy as like, also this guy too, adorable, cute, pinches ears, oh my god.
Primarily concerned with mitigating the threat of monster-to-human encounters, the guild only rarely manages to observe monsters across their various life stages. After all, the overwhelming majority of the incidents that the guild is concerned with happen with adult monsters.
Oh,
In fact, for the vast majority of monsters, their juvenile state has either never been sighted or only been spotted a scant few times. This creates a sizable hole in the scientific canon of the guild, and makes the cases in which a full life cycle has been observed that much more valuable. One such case can be found in jungles and deserts, where the soil is light and the sun burns hot. Here, an attentive observer might stumble across a small, jittering dune of sand, blowing air out from the ground like a small spout. On closer inspection, this curious formation will erupt and reveal itself to be a hermitor sitting in its favorite spot. Hermitors are carapaceons.
Let's see. So who is at the top of the list? Okay, it looks like Danny at 4:11:12, Mal at 27:41, Chu at 11:23, yours truly at 10:94, Mew at 5:54, and Cass at 49, Fluffy at 2:95. Gotta catch up.
A fairly small class of monsters that are all part of the decapods. They are related to many non-monster animals, such as crabs and lobsters, a relation that can be plainly seen in the very crab-like hermitors. They are specifically part of the...
Have you guys ever wondered why we look at sea creatures like this that are basically bugs and we don't feel disgusted over them compared to the ones we see on the surface? Why is
infraorder
that?
Brachyura,
It's not like they eat
short
anything any
tail.
different.
This refers to the fact that hermitors, just like regular true crabs, have short tails that are folded under the body and
Oh, those are
usually
tails?
invisible.
I didn't
Where
know.
hermitors differ from regular
Let's
crabs
choose pet.
is their size.
Colored red.
Even the smallest hermitor is comparable in size to the
Rajang!
spider crab, the largest regular crab. Their characteristic red shells are also notably more durable than...
You guys want to see something tasty? Most of you guys probably already seen this video though. Here we go.
As the female's doing a little dance, she's releasing up to 100,000 eggs where they hatch in
Wow,
contact
chica,
with
look,
water
look, look,
and the
look,
larvae
look.
swim away. Spent about the last 3 weeks migrating, so a week walking down to the coast and 2 weeks in the burrow incubating their eggs,
Look at all of them.
all leading up to this moment. And it's really cool to see. We have about 40 million red crabs on Christmas Island. They live most of their year up in the forest in the middle
Look
of
at
the island.
them.
But
Yummy.
once a year they have to return to their roots at the ocean in order to breed. So it's quite a prolonged, drawn-out journey, and the crabs face quite a few obstacles.
Obstacles
Not just cliffs
including
and other
me.
natural obstacles. Behind me is one of the main ways that we protect the crabs on Christmas Island. So we close a lot of roads during the migration, and this just allows the crabs free access to cross the road without getting hit by cars. As you can see, they are making good use of it. But in areas where we can't close the roads because people still need to access them, we have a range of techniques that we use to get the crabs safely across. Feeling crabby?
Yeah.
We have an army of volunteer and national park breakers just moving the crabs out of the roads in front of the cars as they come through. Hot, exhausting work, but we're saving a lot of crabs. School bus is arriving, and yeah, the kids will be getting out here and walking to school today, just to avoid running over all the little crabbies on the road. This is where I live. It's a 3-story building right next to the ocean, and every year it just gets covered in crabs. On the way, they'll just go over any kind of obstacles there are. In this case,
Yo, I like how they're on the walls and everything too. I didn't know they can even go vertically like that.
Yeah, he's climbing up the bricks.
Yo, they got into the roof and everything. Holy!
Crabs obviously like the smell of fresh bread too. Every year, the whole town gets
This is the local bakery. We serve crab cakes here.
overrun by the crabs. People find them in their beds, in their showers. This is one of our temporary fences. We put these up about a month before the rains start, and they're designed to divert the crabs around roads.
Are you joking? They're climbing entire buildings,
so
bro.
that they can cross in a safe spot. This is one of about 20 crab crossings that we have across the island. So the crabs go underneath the road, and the
I
cars
know,
go over
right?
this
They look so
covered bridge
yummy.
on the road. You can see here we have a little concrete culvert that directs the crabs to this point. The crabs have to wait for the rains to start because they still have some connections to the ocean. They need some moisture in their gills in order to breathe. So if it's too hot and dry, they can't really wander too far from their burrows. Not all the crabs are going to make it despite everything we do to try and get as many across
My
the
bad.
roads as safely as possible, some inevitably get squished, but they don't go to waste.
Oh no, they
The other
don't.
crabs will
Wait, what?
stop and have a snack on them on the way, replenish their moisture, and
Yo!
get some much needed nutrients.
Yo!
to continue their
Okay!
journey. Another one of the methods that
Holy!
we use to help the crabs cross the road
Yeah,
safely
nothing's
is
gonna
our
waste.
crab bridge. It's
See,
on
even
this
they're
section
like,
of road because
well,
we can't actually put underpasses
you know.
on this road just because of the utility pipes along the edge.
Might
They
as
climb all
well.
the way to the top, over to the other side, and then climb down on the other side.
Roadkill them are like road
Traffic isn't the
grill.
only hazard that the crabs face. In really long, open, hot stretches like big lawns, and even if they get stuck on the side of the road in a gutter, they can die of dehydration.
I wonder how many tourists come over here and just
Only
like get a
day
pot of
each
crabs
month
every
where
day.
the tides are right and the females are able to release their eggs into the ocean. And that's usually in the last quarter of the moon. On a neap tide, it's about 4:30 in the morning, and these females are trying to spawn. So the swells up a bit. This is what it's all about. So there's probably about 100,000 eggs in here. The females tried to release it into the ocean, but they didn't quite get it because they're up on the cliff. But if we release it into the water, they'll hatch.
Wait, is that like crab caviar? Do you think it's good?
And the larvae will hatch and swim away.
Can I put that on like sushi?
Really cool. Out in the ocean,
Yeah.
they prey to lots of different
Oh,
species,
yay!
whale
They're
sharks,
like,
manta rays,
yay!
lots of little fish. But if they're lucky and the tides and currents don't wash them away, they might actually come back in 3 to 4 weeks. On those special years, the whole island is painted red. There's just a sea of red crabs heading from the ocean back up into the forest. Oh, little babies! It's pretty spectacular, and it makes everything that we've been doing so far just completely worth it.
You know, I kind of envy her in a way. Her job is actually just like chilling with crabs all year.
Than anything seen in regular crustaceans, and are able to even deflect some human weapons. Their only weak spot is a squishy backside, which they protect by covering their backs in bony shells that they find early on in life, similar to hermit
I don't think we're gonna
crabs.
finish this in 5 hours.
Due to
That's,
these impressive defenses,
we're gonna be here for like
hermitors live
8 hours,
fairly
including the yapping.
unbothered lives. Most predators simply do not consider the effort of cracking one open worth their time.
Looking out, is this the new Monster Hunter Wilds
And
trailer?
so, hermitors sit in the sand for most of the day, using their pincers to feed on all sorts of small delicacies.
Yay!
Those living in the desert may devour small sand critters and mud dwellers near oases, while jungle hermitors
So I
may spend
sacrifice
more of their
sleep. No,
energy
you
to
fall
eat small
asleep to
fish
it.
at the beach
That's the trick.
or peel off nutritious
Oh,
moss
Mew.
from
Oh,
rocks.
don't listen to Mew.
They may also sometimes attempt to ambush smaller animals by burying themselves entirely
Bad
in the
influence,
sand
Mew,
and
bad.
leaping at prey when it gets close. How successful this strategy actually is has not been definitively determined yet. Hermitors do not pose a threat to humans most of the time. While they can
Most
be
of the time,
somewhat
smile.
aggressive if you get too close, they generally tend to themselves. This, coupled with their close relation to regular crabs, actually sparked some debate when they were first discovered. Was it really worth it to consider them monsters under the jurisdiction of the Hunters Guild? If they don't threaten humans and are so similar to creatures that we already don't call monsters, is it really appropriate to make them the Guild's responsibility? This discussion was luckily quickly laid to rest after one crucial discovery was made. The commonly seen hermitors were actually all juveniles. Based on how much more
These are
frequently
the water
hermitors are
Yeah, they
observed
kind
in
of
the
spit at you,
state,
kind of like llamas.
it is generally assumed that these carapaceons spend a long time as juveniles. It is currently unclear what triggers their metamorphosis, as well as how old these juveniles actually have to be at minimum to experience it. What is, however, known is that at some point in their lives, hermitors experience a growth spurt. In the process of this growth, the bony shell on their backs eventually becomes too small for them, Once the hermitors reach that critical size, where none of their
Let the
juvenile
pills
shells fit them
sink
anymore,
deep.
they burrow
Let the
deep
effects
underground in
consume you.
search of a very special defensive tool. Not long after that, they emerge fully grown, an ancient wyvern skull attached to their back, ready to claim the title bestowed to these enormous adults. Daimyo Hermitor. And they are
I like
monstrous indeed.
how it actually looks like Skull Cry.
Up to 6 meters tall, these behemoths prowl the same areas as their young brethren, joining them in their foraging and keeping the entire group safe merely by their presence. Unlike their younger brothers, however, daimyo hermitars also spend a lot of time traveling underground, using their powerful pincers
that
to
crab wastes
dig
my
across vast
sharpness.
distances while surveying their surroundings with an impeccable
Even
sense
your
of
hammer
hearing.
needs to be sharp enough for this
Daimyo
one.
hermitors are passive giants and not particularly aggressive. They can, however, become defensive when spotting an unknown creature, which is when their fearsome
I don't know what they expect is gonna happen. Like, those Jaguar's teeth are not sharp. They're like green sharpness at best, and you're gonna try to fight that.
abilities come into play. Their red shell is many times tougher than that of the juvenile hermitar, but it is also extremely light. Due to this, the daimyo hermitar can move shockingly fast, outmaneuvering enemies and closing distances quickly. Its enormous claws can do tremendous damage, as they are now specialized in picking apart large prey. The claws can also serve as shields, as their large surface is covered in hardened carapace that can easily withstand most attacks. It can also produce a pressurized stream of water from its mandibles, giving it a
It should
powerful
aim more
ranged
to the left. I
attack
hate
option.
those guys.
But perhaps its most ferocious method of attack is how it uses its shell. Daimyo hermitars almost exclusively choose the skulls of ancient giant wyvern as their shells. These skulls resemble that of the modern monoblos, while being much larger in size generally. Some researchers believe that these skulls may be the remains of an ancient ancestor of the horn wyverns, who may have been plentiful and whose bodies now saturate the underground. This has, however, not been verified as of now. Wherever these skulls may come from, what is an undeniable truth is that daimyo hermitars are exceptionally skilled at using them. While the skull offers defense just as it is, the drill-like horn of the deceased wyvern can also be used for devastating attacks. Thanks to its powerful legs, the hermitor can launch itself backwards towards enemies
I
in an
like
attempt
how
to
even though you
skewer them,
break the
or
skull
leap up above them
entirely,
to
it
crush
finds a
them.
new one in like
Its
seconds.
agility, coupled with its defense and
We need to
destructive
start some
power,
fossil
make
fuel
the
farm
daimyo
over here.
hermitor quite formidable.
I'll be the first.
And yet, both licensed hunters and illegal poachers commonly attempt to slay adult hermitors despite all of these defenses. The reason for this lies in the carapaceon's abdomen. Here, ingested sand and bodily fluids mix and compress over the hermitor's lifetime to form a beautiful pearl, as shiny
Whoa, wait,
as it is
hold.
valuable. It is a treasure
So every time we captured this, we
worth
could have been
risking
making lots
life
of
and
money?
limb for.
Oh
Experienced
my god.
hunters also know how to exploit the hermitor's
We're
main
not
weakness,
we're not
its
expert
sense
hunters.
of hearing. In order to navigate underground, the daimyo hermitor uses its acute hearing to map out its surroundings. While that is quite useful, it can be the monster's downfall. A well-timed sonic bomb can startle and fluster the creature,
Yeah, you
breaking
need
up
to
its
hunt them
defensive
now and open
posture
them up.
and
You'll
leaving
find
it
lots of treasures.
wide open. This opportunity is thus often exploited by those who wish to claim the daimyo's treasure.
Has anyone ever used
Generally,
sonic bombs
though,
in their life?
hermitors do not cause too much trouble.
Yes,
A
man.
daimyo wandering too close to established travel routes or appearing near a settlement does incite concern and retaliation, but the guild usually handles those
Crabs
cases
good
quite
for
quickly.
gambling? Mm-hmm.
The larger impact of the
They're kind
hermitors
of like
is their
gotcha
role
crates
as a
if you think about it.
scientific research
You just have
subject.
to open the box.
Being able to observe a monster across its entire lifespan and across its various forms like this is exceptionally rare, and has already provided crucial insights into the life of extant megafauna. One breakthrough the guild is still hoping for is to actually witness the exact moment a hermitor becomes a daimyo. An unlikely dream, since that transformation seems to happen underground. Another area of
Wait, never
guild
mind, want it back.
science the
Yay!
hermitors impacted was the classification
Easy
of
profit.
subspecies. In the early days of the guild, the term subspecies was attached quite liberally to describe any instance or sighting of an altered or unusual variation of a previously known monster. This was, like many early guild conventions, mostly a functional decision, a way to let hunters in the field know in a single word that they'd be dealing with something familiar but different. This thoroughly unscientific approach attracted much ire and criticism over the years, however. If the guild was to become a serious repository of knowledge and research on monsters, it had to dedicate itself to actually classify the world in a consistent scientific manner. The vestiges of this debate are still playing out to this day,
Don't even
as various
specify
monster
anything, just
subspecies
gamba
are still
all.
getting
Just win.
reevaluated for reclassification. And one of the most important cases in this paradigm shift was that of the plum daimyo hermitor. It superficially
skin
appears to be
kazu?
a different species of hermitor. Its body structure
It's
is
like a
nearly
sausage
identical,
kazu.
but its shell displays a deep purple coloration rather than the typical red.
Code purple?
They are
I don't think
roughly
we've
the
seen
same
this one
size
yet.
as a red daimyo hermitor, but tend to carry a different kind of skull on their backs. While red daimyos seem to prefer skulls resembling those of giant monoblos, plum daimyos are often seen wearing the skulls of ancient giant diablos. Like their red brothers, plum daimyos are quite agile, maybe even more so. They are also notably more aggressive, and use their water beam more liberally. All in all, they fulfilled many of the typical characteristics of a separate but highly related species. So, the plum daimyo hermitor was classified as a subspecies of the hermitor genus. But almost immediately, a problem arose.
Oh no.
While plum daimyo hermitors were sighted on multiple occasions, no one had ever seen a juvenile plum hermitor, which remains true to this very day. Considering that juvenile hermitors are so abundant compared to their adult counterparts, this discrepancy aroused suspicion among researchers. Even after tiresome investigation, no small hermitor displaying this purple coloration was ever found.
I don't know, it looks kind of purple like right here, doesn't it? Maybe this is the picture. Right now, we're getting gaslit. Don't believe everything they say.
If the plum hermitor truly was a subspecies, one would expect to find its juveniles right along the red ones. This caused a new hypothesis to arise.
What are those?
The plum daimyo hermitor was not a distinct species, but a common discoloration in adult hermitors. The fact that no juveniles of this color have ever been found suggests that this change in coloration occurs during or around the moment of maturity.
Okay.
Not
I
long
encourage
after,
it.
a possible cause for this was proposed.
Holy, the vid was 5 hours.
Plum daimyo hermitors were noted
Now we're not
to be
gonna finish
much
in
more
5 hours, we're
picky
finishing in
eaters than
8
their red
hours,
brothers,
probably.
sticking to a specific species of fish. It was thus possible that their coloration, as well as their behavioral differences, were a consequence of this altered diet. More research is still being conducted,
Honestly, these are the emo
but the
crabs.
major impact of this case was that it further emphasized the importance of revisiting old subspecies classifications and verifying if they still hold up to scrutiny. So while many
Are you
guild
going all in
textbooks
until your
still name
collab?
the plum daimyo
Course.
hermitor as a subspecies,
I said we
it
were
is
gonna watch a
functionally
5-hour
much
video,
closer
so we're
to
gonna
a
watch a 5-hour
variant,
video.
an altered individual, rather than a genetically distinct species.
Gotta watch a video longer than
The
I've actually
plum
slept.
daimyo is, however, not the only known variation of the hermitor species. These carapacians are also affected by deviation, the phenomenon where unique
Yay!
factors
And then we're gonna
highly
play
unusual
Pacify when it's
changes
like
produce
2
exceedingly
hours from my
powerful
bedtime and I'm all
individuals
loopy.
within a species. Deviant hermitors are known as
And I'm
stonefist
not trying to bring it.
hermitors,
Yeah, exactly.
and
See?
are, like
See?
all deviants,
We're being
exceptionally
in
rare. It is not known
Oh, well,
exactly
hold on. I really like that.
what deviants
I need to have like my own intro be like Stone Fist Nico. Deviant.
exceptionally rare.
Mhm.
It is not known exactly what causes a regular hermitor to grow into this monstrosity. Some research has suggested that it may be due to a rare endocrine defect that results in hormonal imbalance. Either way,
One of the debuts just
stonefist
chat sniffing around to
hermitors
get
are
Nico.
defined by their enormous size,
Is that what
easily
the
dwarfing
ARG is
even
gonna
the
be?
largest regular daimyos. Their
It'll,
shell is
it'll just be
darkened,
like
and their
you'll just be in the stream. It'll be like, "Hey, Pard, make sure you find the tracks for Nico. They say that they might be in the new world." Whoa, partner! I think we almost have enough to report to the research team. Looks like we have enough tracks. Great job, we did it, partner.
claws are enlarged, with the left claw being disproportionately enormous, as well as sporting a unique coloration and pattern.
Nico
Due to
skin.
their
No,
size,
not
they
skin
also seek
marks.
out even larger monobloss skulls, likely buried deeper in the earth.
And then you have to take out the whole like potion vial and like scoop it in.
Like all deviants,
Into the test
stonefist
tube.
hermitors are quite dangerous. At their size, even a sporadic temper tantrum turns into a walking catastrophe. Subduing one of these behemoths is no easy task either. Their dark shell is many times harder than that of regular hermitors, sturdy enough to even deflect bullets and armed projectiles. Their enlarged left claw, the eponymous Stone Fist, can be used to bludgeon and crush enemies with devastating power, able to pulverize solid rock with ease. It is thus lucky for everyone that Stonefist hermitors do not emerge frequently.
See, I'm gonna debut as like the Monster Hunter
The
streamer. It's
hermitor
actually
is by
gonna be
far
like
the
track
most
finding.
commonly cited carapacian species. That is in part due to their large populations, but it's also a result of their habitats. Hermitors inhabit warm areas, such as deserts, jungles, and forested valleys. Not just that, but these red carapacians spend most of their time out in the open, sitting on beaches and oases lightly covered in sand. It is thus quite easy for humans to stumble upon them. Of the 3 confirmed genuses of carapacians, hermitors are the most thoroughly researched for that very reason. Which is not to say that the guild has gathered no information on the other carapacians. Within Brachyura, the same infraorder that includes the hermitor, one also finds the red crab's closest relative. But in order to observe it out in the wild, one must visit landscapes quite unlike the hermitor's sunny home. For this crab dwells in the harsh corners of the world, in marshes and volcanic caves. Only in these rough environments can one encounter a Shianator. Superficially, they resemble their relatives. Like the hermitor, Shianators are roughly crab-like in appearance, while being much larger than most known regular crabs. Also like the hermitor, Cyanotors protect their backs with a thick bony
Not
shell
tasty.
that must be replaced as the creature grows. Both species also tend to form small groups of 2 to 4 individuals, in which they don't exactly cooperate and rather simply stay near each other for protection. There are, however, some notable differences. While hermitors can be somewhat territorial and have a fierce reputation, especially within the novice halls of Dundorma, they mostly stick to themselves and back off once their immediate surroundings seem safe. Cyanotors, meanwhile, are downright aggressive, chasing down interlopers relentlessly and descending onto any creature that crosses their path. This increased aggression
Interloper.
is
I hear that insult a lot. What does that mean? We're gonna learn some more. Interloper. Someone who becomes involved in an activity or social group without being asked or enters without permission. So anybody who makes you go like, who asked? Like me? Searching that up is an interloper.
likely a result of their different lifestyle. Cyanotors live predominantly in caves, where they snack on insects and small critters. They are even known to nibble on mineral deposits from time to time.
Well, when did
Their
you guys
caves
become
are
such
their
best
kingdom,
friends, huh,
and
Danny?
they defend it much more jealously than their red cousins defend their beaches. This aggressive behavior is also necessary for another food source for the Cyanotor: the kills of other predators. Unlike the hermitor, Cyanotor also actively scavenge corpses of larger animals, which sometimes involves a standoff with the predator that actually secured the bounty. The Cyanotor may be small, but with
You
their
know what?
fiery temper and ambitious
I'd want to die like
bravado,
that too.
a
It's been
trio
like,
of them are known to
at the
be able to
very end.
chase off other monsters somewhat regularly, if only temporarily, giving
No
the crabs
way.
a chance to
That's
steal a
not
few
true.
morsels before
This is the wrong
scuttling off.
timeline.
An intense
I
life
thought
like
she was
this
bullying you.
requires some physical adaptations. The blue shell of the Cyanotor is not quite as sturdy as the hermitors. This minor reduction in defense has a massive payoff. The shell is even lighter, allowing for much
No more
faster
bullying.
movement.
Yay.
In order to take full
Aw.
advantage of this, the Cyanotor have developed strong legs with highly flexible joints. Combined, these two features make the Cyanotor an extremely agile critter. While they may not be as well defended as their red cousins, they can easily run circles around most threats, weaving between attacks and closing distances rapidly. This ability pairs especially well with the Cyanotor's modified pincers. They are much slimmer and sharper than those of the hermitor, and can move much faster as well. This enables a hit-and-run strategy, where a Cyanotor can scuttle around an opponent to disorient them, slash at them rapidly when an opening presents
Whatever you
itself,
say.
and then
Whatever makes you
retreat
feel better,
just
you know?
as quickly. Rinse and repeat, and most predators will have to at least consider backing off. Of course, all of these abilities only go so far in mitigating the Cyanotor's main weakness: its size. While large in comparison with crabs, in a world of monsters, the Cyanotor is quite diminutive. Facing a powerful opponent can easily spell disaster if approached carelessly.
Wait, these are the full size?
In such situations, the Cyanotor can rely on its final gambit. Unlike the hermitor, Cyanotors actually grow a small venom sac inside their bodies. The venom it produces is quite mild, and is mostly used to be spat at small prey as it tries to escape. This sac is a pretty weak organ overall, and it degenerates over the Cyanotor's lifespan. And yet, it is the Cyanotor's trump card. The venom may be weak, but when mixed into the Cyanotor's mouth, it turns into a deep purple foam, violently gushing out of the Carapacion's mouth. The color and the ferocity of the bubbles, coupled with
I
the
don't know. I
Cyanotor's
feel like it
boisterous
would be
demeanor,
feeling like
create a strong
like
bluff that
purple
can
Kool-Aid
be
or something, and actually
surprisingly
makes it look more
effective
yummy.
at intimidating larger opponents. While the venom is too weak to meaningfully harm most large
Danny,
monsters,
duality of
the
men.
mere display of it can be enough to make an enemy reconsider, giving the Shianatar an opening to escape.
Yeah, Kool-Aid.
In some cases, this strategy can even cause predators to retreat outright. A bold and dangerous tactic, and one that the small Shianatar pulls off admirably. But just like the Hermitaur, Shianatar do not stay small forever. Their commonly seen small stature is in fact also a sign of youth, as just like their cousins, Shianatar spend a long time as juveniles. As a Shianatar grows, it will eventually grow too big
it
for
is
the
just
small
a
shell
bluff.
on its
What if
back,
it's just spicy?
while also simultaneously
peppers
losing the
are...
ability to produce venom, as its venom sac
What are they,
deteriorates
poison?
and dries up.
Something. It's something.
Once that happens, the Shianatar will mimic its cousin and dig deep underground
Welcome.
to grow into its
We have
enormous
only just
adult
started our
size.
ecology video.
In the same process, it will also look for a new shell to protect
learn.
its vulnerable backside. Not long after, it will re-emerge as a fully grown adult, now bestowed with the name Shogun Shianatar. While the Daimyo Hermitaur largely resembles a massively scaled up young Hermitaur, the Shogun Shianatar undergoes a more drastic transformation.
Dude, these are genuinely
Its head
terrifying.
elongates into a tall blue pillar, its legs thicken, and its pincers essentially invert, forming an intricate double-bladed structure. Shogun Shianatar are also noted to choose a wider variety of shells. While some may inhabit wyvern skulls, such as those of massive ancient gravios, many also wear other kinds of hardened fossil structures. Shianatars seem to be quite anxious about finding shells, which may be why they are so much less picky about the shells they choose. This anxiety can also be seen in the well-documented fact that should its shell be damaged or broken, a Shogun Shianatar will interrupt whatever it was doing to frantically dive into the ground in search of a new shell. It's even been theorized that a Shogun collects suitable shells ahead of time and stores them underground beneath its territory, to have quick and easy access to a new shell at all times. Which proves to be a sound strategy, as Shogun Shianatars often find themselves in combat and in need of replacement shells. While their bodies may have changed,
Okay, I like
they
how they
are
actually
just as
explain that,
aggressive
how they
as they
find it
were
in
in
like
their
2
youth,
seconds.
if not even more so. Shoguns are extremely defensive of their territory, and they will not hesitate to attack any who intrude
Like how we
into its
forget to bring
caves.
potions
Having
sometimes.
lost
These guys
its venom,
are always
the
prepared.
Shogun now relies exclusively on its physicality. Its powerful legs retain their agility, and despite its size, the Shogun Shianatar is still exceptionally fast. It can even walk on cave ceilings by digging the sharp ends of its legs into the rock, allowing for another angle of attack. If the shell it currently wears features an appropriate opening, such as the mouth of a wyvern skull, the Shogun can also use a specialized nozzle on its backside to spray a pressurized stream of urine at its enemies.
Wait, that's not water?
This gives the Carapacion a powerful, foul-smelling, long-ranged option. But its most effective weapons are its modified pincers. They function in 2 states.
No, don't worry about the pincers. How about the pissers? What?
Folded and unfolded. In the folded state, they largely resemble a battle axe, with a sharp edge that allows for cutting and slashing. The hinge of the pincers is at the top of the structure, allowing the bottom to be opened to grab and pinch objects. In this form, the pincers are quite dangerous already, but their relatively short range makes them seem easy to evade. That is where their second form, the unfolded state, comes into play. By fully extending the hinge of its pincers, the Shogun Shianatar reveals its massive, bladed claws, extending like switchblades and curved like scythes. It's these unique structures that give the Shianatar its nickname.
Missed opportunity
crab.
to say switch axe.
These massive blades are extremely sharp and finely serrated. Their edges are covered in a layer of metallic carapace, making them both durable and deadly. A single swipe of them can easily shred an opponent to pieces.
Wait, so are they saying that the urine is coming directly from their mouth?
And the serrations ensure that the resulting wounds bleed
Bruh.
copiously. Thanks to the mobile hinge, these claws can bend and extend flexibly, giving them a much wider range than one might expect. The result of all of this is that the Shogun Shianatar can quickly and brutally cleave its foes apart at nearly any distance. Luckily for everyone, Shogun Shianatars are generally unlikely to cross paths with humans. They are already rarer than Hermitors, and only inhabit cavernous areas that are usually far from human settlements. Like Hermitors, Shogun Shianatars also produce valuable pearls, but the thought of those sickle-like pincers gives most aspiring poachers second thoughts. Very rarely, Shianatar are also hunted for their meat. It is considered an acquired taste, but wealthy gourmands are more than willing to commission a hunting party for this rare treat, usually in anticipation of some large festival
So
or
they prefer
event.
the blue crabs.
Another thing the Shianatar has in common with the Hermitor is its importance for the history of subspecies classification. The discovery that the plum daimyo hermitar was in fact likely not a separate species but rather a regular hermitar discolored by its diet was just one of many incidents that led to the still ongoing reform of the guild's phylogeny. Numerous cases are being re-evaluated, and one of them is that of the so-called Shianatar subspecies, the Terra Shogun Shianatar. Defined by a striking orange and red coloration, Terra Shoguns inhabit many of the same areas as regular Shianatars. Just as is the case with the Plum Daimyo, no juveniles of the Terra Shogun Shianatar have ever been sighted. Terra Shoguns are mostly identical to their blue brothers, mostly differing in their behavior. They are considered even more aggressive, preferring to rush down opponents directly. While their legs are just as strong, Terra Shoguns don't seem as keen on climbing on ceilings. Their preference regarding shells also varies. They seemingly seek out the skulls of black gravios specifically, identifiable by the blackened surface of the skull bones. Based on it sharing its habitat with regular Shianatars, the complete lack of Terra juveniles, and the discovery regarding the Plum Daimyo, guild consensus now assumes that the Terra Shogun Shianatar is probably also not a true subspecies, and instead a regular Shogun Shianatar that is discolored due to its diet. What part of its diet caused discoloration has not yet been determined. Nevertheless, its close relation to the Hermitar and the similarities between the Plum and Terra individuals suggests that the Terra Shogun Shianatar is likely also a case of a misclassified subspecies that is much closer to a variant in reality. One final similarity between the Shianatar and the Hermitar genuses is that Shianatars can also produce deviants. However, unlike the Hermitor deviant, the conditions that allow deviants to arise in Shianatar are actually somewhat understood. It is an illustrative example that shows just how absurdly rare deviance actually is. In order for a deviant Shianatar to emerge, 3 conditions must be met. First, very rarely, a Shianatar is born
write these down.
without
It's gonna
a
be on the
venom
test.
sac. This seems to be a genetic defect that affects a minuscule part of the population.
Genetic defect
Second,
1?
This venomless Shianatar has to survive until adulthood. Lacking the ability to produce its powerful threat display, as well as being unable to envenomate small prey for easier consumption, venomless Shianatars are unlikely to make it far.
And then third, it needs
The only way they
unsupervised access to the
survive
internet.
is by relying even more heavily on their mobility and their pincers. Should they make it to adulthood, these Shianatars are magnitudes more adept at physical combat
Yeah,
due
we
to
have a
their
test, of
long
course.
and arduous struggle. Then, the third condition must occur. The venomless Shianatar must, on its search for a suitable shell to reach maturity with, stumble onto the skull of a Glavenus. These brute wyverns possess sharp, ore-covered jaw protrusions that they use in life to sharpen their bladed tails. In death, these protrusions remain on the skull of the beast. Usually, Shianatar ignore these skulls as the dense bones of brute wyvern tend to be too heavy for them. But a venomless Shianatar, whose body has been hardened by adversity,
Redo this class
instantly
next year.
recognizes
No.
the immense value
That means I'll
of
have to
this
see you
find.
for another year. No.
And so, it hoists the Glavenus skull onto its back and engages in a fascinating behavior. The flexible shoulder joints of the Shianatar allow it to move its pincers behind its back and drag them across the skull's ore protrusions. In an incredible display of intelligence, the Shianatar uses the Glavenus skull like a whetstone, much like the skull's owner once would have. In doing so, it sharpens the blades of its pincers even further, making them deadlier than ever. Over the years, as it continues to sharpen itself, the ore on the skull begins to rub off and fuse onto the Shianatar's pincers, discoloring and distorting them.
Life skills
It is
in the
at this
Monster
point
Hunter world.
that this individual becomes
and the
a
prestige
fully
of knowing
formed deviant, which the guild calls Rust
you know
Razor
about monsters more
Shianatar.
than anyone
These
else.
deviants are thoroughly feared for
Isn't
their
that
destructive
super
power.
special?
A lifetime of carrying a heavy Glavenus skull
You get to wear
has
oi
bulked
arm
up the
glasses in
Shianatar's
real
limbs
life.
considerably, making it even more physically imposing. The modified pincers are deadly beyond measure, able to cleave apart armor as if it were butter. It overall retains all of the abilities of a regular Shogun Shianatar, but improved and perfected. Rust Razor Shianatars are also not entirely married to their Glavenus skull. While it forms the center of their survival strategy, they do also maintain an underground collection of backup shells, just like regular Shoguns. This allows them to switch shells when necessary, for example to a Gravios shell to allow for their urine beam. One new weakness the Rust Razor Shianatar has to contend with is the composition of its pincer
water beam,
blades.
this urine beam.
The ore that is now fused into it can be quite sharp and destructive, but it also oxidizes quickly, forming a layer of rust that dulls the Shianatar's blades, hence the name Rust Razor. While this is quickly remedied by another round of sharpening with the skull shell, it does impose an additional stressor onto the deviant, making it generally a lot more nervous and aggressive than it already was. Be that as it may, the Rust Razor Shianatar is a force to be reckoned with, and one best left alone. These two genuses, Hermitar and Shianatar, as well as their variations and deviants, comprise nearly all known Carapaceons. Nearly. There is another.
There's another one.
A distant cousin that is so mysterious and elusive that it was long believed to be a myth, a collective illusion created by mass hysteria. In the northwest of the central continent, in the regions of Strade and the outskirts of Dundorma, many fortresses lay scattered about. These are ancient fortifications,
this even looks like
built
a Dragon
to
Guard
repel
castle.
elder dragons, such as the Lao Shan Lung, which historically passed through these areas. The legendary battles waged here have produced numerous tales and folklore. One such tale long terrified the children of the ancient continent. Ever so often, scouts would report sightings of an emaciated Lao Shan Lung, seemingly reduced to just a skeleton, and yet still moving. The stories of this undead dragon were often dismissed as mere hogwash. Until a massive Lao Shan Lung skull walked right into one of the local fortresses as a team of hunters was manning
See, this is how they can do a Dragon Guard
It was
collab.
not an undead dragon. It was not
Zero is
even
trying
a
to look
full
for
skeleton.
4 and just walked into this
Just the
place
skull
and
of
fights
an
a
elder
giant
dragon,
crab.
carried on the back of an enormous carapacion. This creature would soon after be named Shen Gao Ren. Even today, nearly nothing is known about these massive carapacions. Despite their size, they have proven extremely hard to track and study, and so most knowledge on the Shen Gao Ren is based on the very few chance encounters the guild has had with it. At nearly 24 meters in height, it is easily one of the largest monsters to ever be recorded. Most of this height is due to the creature's disproportionately long legs, paired with equally long arms that end in rather small pincers.
Pop quiz. Which monster skull is this from? Oh, wait. Who's it from? No, no, don't call me on like this. Oh, let me confirm. No, it wasn't the one. Damn, I thought it was Savage Eva. Next teacher, I need to go. Okay, go. Let us know when you're back, and then we'll start the video. Class, bathroom break. We need to be just like the Sianatar and Oipis. Okay, it looks like Cass is back. Hope you washed your hands. Welcome back.
Its skin is as hard as metal, nearly impenetrable to any attacks. Being so large and so well defended, the Shen Gao Ren moves slowly and with little regard for its surroundings. What on earth could hope to threaten a behemoth like this anyway? Like its fellow carapacions, it also has a soft and squishy backside it must protect, which is why it wears the skull of a Lao Shan Lung on its back.
See, that's what the skull is. It's a Lao Shan Lung.
As Laos are rare to begin with, this feature of the Shen Gao Ren is often seen as evidence that their population must be quite small, perhaps only comprising less than 100 individuals. The most peculiar thing about Shen Gao Ren is their behavior. They seemingly do not perceive humans as threats worth dealing with, as they will mostly remain calm and disinterested while near them. This calm demeanor, however, changes the moment the Shen Gao Ren spots a fortress or similarly large building. Suddenly, the monster turns aggressive, besieging the fortress relentlessly in an attempt to tear it down. Researchers have suggested that in the logic of the Shen Gao Ren, the only things that are as large as itself are mountains and other Shen Gao Ren. So it might be that the Carapacion mistakes large man-made structures as rivals it must battle, informing the ferocity with which it assaults the fortresses it encounters. At such a size, the Shen Gao Ren does not have to try hard to cause damage. Its legs and arms can tear down walls with ease, and its tough exoskeleton is more than sturdy enough to shake off a few cannonballs. Its most interesting weapon, however, lies in its back.
What? Oi! Good on! Hey, welcome! How's the monster hunter? I'm glad you guys got through all of the hunting. And now we all get to relax here and learn more about the monsters. We can drift away while listening to monster ecology and biology. Good to see you guys. If you must, take care of yourself post-stream, please do so. But if not, do hang out. Good to see you.
Like the Shianatar, it can expel waste materials from a specialized
not too far in
nozzle
anyways.
in the abdomen. In the Shengaoren's case, it can produce large globules of acidic slime, which it can launch to a distance of up to 300 meters. This acid is extremely corrosive, burning through rock and steel rapidly.
From one crow
Unfortunately, it is also known that this acid can dissolve a grown human within a few agonizing minutes. This acid constitutes the most severe threat of a Shengaoren encounter. While it focuses its ire on the fortress, the size, range, and splashability of these acid attacks can cause enormous damage to anything in the vicinity. Thus, the guild treats an approaching Shengaoren like an elder dragon, repelling it with full force at any cost. The Carapaceons may be one of the smallest groups of extant monsters, but they represent one of the most fascinating branches of the guild phylogeny. Their life cycles, their artifacts, their seeming intelligence, all valuable avenues of study one could dedicate a lifetime to.
I've been really happy with it. I didn't think people would show up
as the beauty of nature
to watch our 5-hour video with us. Give you a shout out as well, you too.
It is sometimes assumed that the wild frontiers of the world are populated mostly by world-ending abominations.
Oi!
Tales of black dragons and serpents the size of entire mountain ranges are often repeated,
you got it too,
but they present a false impression of the wilds. The mundane reality is that while fierce, powerful creatures do absolutely exist, much of the work of monster hunters revolves around managing small pests and troublemakers. The majority of hunters will encounter 0 elder dragons across their careers, and instead spend them fighting hundreds of small raptors and neopterons.
I dream of that all the time.
But just because it doesn't make for exciting legends, does not mean that this is not a vitally important task. The global economy relies on agricultural and mining operations that lie in the frontier zones and often intersect with monster territories, and keeping them safe is crucial to the continued prosperity of humanity. And while many of these critters are not as imposing as a Diablos or a Devil Joe, there is still wonder to be found in these monsters as well. One of the most persistent...
speaking of Devil Joe, did you guys see how bullfrog tadpoles look like? Well, let me see if I can pull up a picture. I think I have one right here. These things are massive. I feel like this is where Devil Joe was inspired by. They're like this for like 3 years. Oh, hi somebody. We're just going through some monster ecology. See where? But my crackpot theory is that this is where Devil Joe came from right here. The cursed pickle. Oh, because we're going through some heavy science and all that. Very cute. What was this? The giant pet. Aw, never got its legs. Yeah, see, look at that. But in Monster Hunter, it did in fact get its legs.
And infamous, creatures that terrorizes new hunters and frontier businesses alike, is also one of the first officially recorded monsters in guild history. It can be found in nearly any habitat, from bogs to volcanoes to jungles to snowy mountains. It is smaller than most monsters, but its temper and behavior has made it the bane of any budding monster hunter. For you never know when a Bullfango sets its dreamy sights on you. Covered in bristly brown fur,
I only hate these second to
boar-like
the
fanged beasts roam
what
all
they're called.
corners of the frontier. They
The
mostly
wasps.
live in groups, but occasionally lone individuals will be sighted. While they are extremely common in the
Yeah, the
old world,
Vespoids,
they have so
exactly.
far never been seen in the new world. Their fur sits atop a hardened shell, and the combination of the two gives the Bullfango excellent
remember
protection
killing
against temperature
a Magnum
and
Malo,
against physical
and I was
impact.
carping, and I just see my character
Their
start
wide
flying across the
distribution
screen,
would
and
already make them
who's
a pretty
there?
common sight for
Bullfango.
anyone venturing into the wild lands of the old world. But that
I can't.
is only half
I
the
have
story.
to kill all of them on sight. It's on
The
sight.
reason Bullfango encounters are so infamous is that Bullfango have an
Wow, Mia is
obnoxious
so quick with it.
disposition. They are curious by nature
They just
and will
wanted to show the
patrol their
cheap ears.
territories vigorously. For the most
Yeah,
part,
are the
they
Vespoid
ignore or avoid other creatures,
paralyzing
and
you
are
and
able
letting
to
the
quickly
monster
assess
cart you?
if they should escape from an encounter with a
Sick.
larger monster. Researchers believe
I
that
don't know why they're so
Bullfango have a
murderous to
sort
you
of
in
innate
specific.
mind map of various things they may see
Oh, mind map, sea hunter, charge.
out in the wild and how they ought to respond to them.
So when I
So
heard
they
these, I can hear the
instinctively know that Aptonoth pose no threat, and that they should probably avoid any area that shows signs of Rathian activity. This mind map is likely passed down from parent to child and forms the basis for Bullfango
no.
behavior
This
out
is
in the wild. However,
actually.
this reliance on this mind map has the consequence that whenever the Bullfango encounters something that does not fit into it,
Oh?
it becomes flustered and turns extremely aggressive. It is believed that Bullfango may have poor eyesight, so anything it does not see day to day can be unrecognizable to it and trigger
That
this
one
ire.
flushed. They get
And
flustered?
the most consistent targets of this confused anger are humans.
Wait,
and
no way. Don't tell me that it's in lore for them to be obnoxiously aggressive towards us. No shot, they actually
man-made
have an
structures
explanation.
such as settlements or facilities, which the Bullfango apparently does not recognize. An enraged Bullfango will
I
charge
don't know what
at its
it is,
target
so I'm gonna kill it.
relentlessly while trying to skewer it with its tusks. And, since they often travel in groups, this often devolves into an onslaught of pigs rushing at farms and farmers alike.
Oh my god,
This
is
is why
actually
Bullfango
canon
are so
again.
commonly targeted by hunters, and why hunters so commonly dislike them. Bullfango are known to interfere with all kinds of
That is
human
brilliant.
activity, rampaging at merchants, hunters out in the field for different reasons, or even just regular travelers. To add to the annoyance, their tough hides make them sturdy enough to not be deterred by pitchforks and similar makeshift weapons, necessitating hunter intervention most of the time. When they aren't busy causing headaches for guild administrators, Bullfango live quite interesting lives. Being social animals, they spend much of their time among their kind, traveling and patrolling together.
Plotting
Their
murder.
primary food sources are underground roots and mushrooms, which they dig out with
Bullfango
their
tango.
tusks.
You know what?
Curiously,
Maybe.
every individual
Maybe.
Bullfango has a favorite tusk, which is the
They
one
do
it
the
uses to dig
fandango.
out its food. It might be analogous to how humans can be left or right-handed. It's not all peaceful coexistence, however. The Bolfango pack needs a leader, and the position is decided by constant contests of dominance between the males. After winning numerous such contests, the dominant Bolfango will often grow larger than its packmates in a resulting hormonal rush, which will solidify its status and discourage further conflict
Don't tell
for
me
a
there's a
time.
giant Bolfango.
For many packs, this is where the social hierarchy ends, living with one slightly
Now, see? I don't see the difference. These are the same image.
larger dominant Bolfango and prowling the lands on search for better food and constantly wary of rival Bolfango packs. But in some cases, for reasons not yet quite clear to the guild, the dominant Bolfango may undergo further transformation. Maybe due to the repeated rush of hormones from their many social victories. Some
You know,
male Bolfango
at this point, I
balloon
wouldn't be
in
surprised.
size and grow
I
a
would not
mask
be
of white
surprised.
fur on their head and torso. These individuals are called bulldrome. While a dominant Bolfango has to regularly wrestle for its continued position, a bulldrome is the undisputed boss of its pack. It leads the group fearlessly, protecting it from predators and other Bolfango packs. But this boss also maintains order within its own ranks,
pigs.
reprimanding
No.
and punishing any Bolfango that fall out of line. When a
Good
bulldrome
night,
emerges,
dolphin.
it gains exclusive mating
Thanks
rights within its
for
pack,
being here
and
for a
only
bit.
it is allowed to reproduce with any females
Someone
that
make
join
sure
the group.
that you grab the cliff notes for a
One
dolphin so
notable
they can
feature of the
study up for
bulldrome
the
is that
test,
its
okay?
tusks are asymmetrical. One tusk is quite a lot larger than the other. Which tusk is the elongated one actually varies between individual bulldrome and depends on which tusk is that individual's favorite to use for food. The beloved foraging tusk will remain small for continued use as a shovel, while the less favorite battle tusk will grow and become a massive curved spire. This larger tusk serves as both weapon and threat display. The world does not rest on the shoulders of apocalyptic beasts. The biggest and baddest dragons may be what inspire our
The
imaginations
baddest
the most.
dragons.
But we must pay equal respects to the small, the mundane, the ordinary. Bolfango are often overlooked and reviled, but even within them dwells the wonder that penetrates all of the natural world.
Wow. Welcome
It
to
could be
Australia,
said
mate.
that the underlying law of the natural world is evolution. Wherever we look, we see
Nah.
the touch
I just had a bad thought when I looked at those fish. I just thought about the fish that would like crawl up like a guy's. You guys know that one?
evolution. Wherever we look, we see the touches of this omnipresent phenomena. But calling it a law is already giving it an air of order and intention that is misplaced. Evolution has no will, no plan. It is instead simply a pattern of probability and causality, wherein emerging and
Oh, don't tell me you don't know Chew. Don't tell me. Oh yes, it is called the kangaroo fish.
changing environmental pressures allow only creatures with
Why would you think
favorable
about the fish that
mutations
goes into
to
the schlong of male individuals?
survive long enough to reproduce, thus solidifying their
Candy.
traits into the
You could
species'
say
gene
so.
pool.
Yeah.
It's a chaotic process that nonetheless produces stability and progress
Kinda
in
like
the long
Twix.
term. But there is a question that dwells at the heart of evolution. What of the creatures that don't need to change? Are there species of animals that were so well adapted in the past that they simply kept their body, saw only minor changes to an already perfected form? The answer is of course yes, and creatures like that give us an invaluable glimpse into the world of the past. The Hunters Guild found an entire genus of such creatures, who are as academically valuable as they are devastatingly ferocious.
Well,
The Guild's fossil record is generally quite spotty, but one of its most impressive collections is that of ancient flying wyvern remains. Various ancestral species have been described, the Sheralos and Canobus, to name two examples from the lineage of the Wraths alone. But one of the oldest fossils ever found is that of the Wyvern Rex. This monster seems to have roamed the lands many eons ago, and is often considered the progenitor of all flying wyverns, grouped into the suborder Viperapoda, known as Dracopoda in earlier phylogenies. It was a large and imposing wyvern, and curiously, it seems to have been incapable of flight. Instead, it walked on all fours, with a small wing membrane developing without function. While a full, intact skeleton of the wyvern rex has still not been found,
you at your own game.
enough remnants have been uncovered
too much
to
of a quick
produce a
thinker.
fairly accurate picture of what this creature may have been like. This by itself would have been a pretty exciting field of research already, but the Royal Paleontology scriveners would soon after realize that there was more to uncover. Independently of wyvern rex dig sites, researchers began finding bones of a very similar creature. They were much smaller and had a few physiological differences, but their similarities to the wyvern rex overshadowed all of that. The body structure and especially the spine were nearly identical. At first, these were celebrated as findings of deceased juvenile wyvern rex. But not long after, a bone from these findings was dated, and its owner appeared to have perished much more recently than the downright primordial wyvern rex. More and more recent bones were found, until only one conclusion remained. The wyvern rex must
had more
have
character
a
development
direct
than some people I've
descendant,
known.
one that resembles it almost completely, and one that is still alive today. The result of this discovery was a frenzied race to find and observe this mysterious descendant as soon as possible. Remote areas were scoured, small towns surveyed, and every bit of local folklore and legend investigated until it was found. Poke, a small village in the harsh Furahia region,
Village?
had
Pokemon
long since
confirmed?
warned its citizens and surrounding settlers that, periodically, a frightful fiend appeared in the mountains, one that must be avoided at all costs. One whose description matched the bones perfectly. The guild mounted a proper expedition into the mountains, and, sure enough, it found what it was looking for. A powerful flying wyvern,
No.
later named Tigrex.
No.
It was as if the many attempted reconstructions
Common
of the wyvern rex
Tigrex.
had jumped off the parchment and simply come to life. So
They're
similar
only showing
was
all
the
the
Tigrex to its
all the
ancestor.
bullies this time, huh?
Across the eons, it appears to only have evolved very little, growing slightly more developed wing membranes while overall shrinking in size. This lack of evolutionary changes seems to imply that the wyvern rex's physical adaptations were already so well suited for its lifestyle that natural selection did not push it to change much, resulting in the primitive, yet present, Tigrex. Looking closer at its
I love a
body
good chase,
and
poke
behavior,
Tigrets.
it becomes
Yep.
clear that this
As I
monster
drive to
is
Poke
indeed
Village.
extremely well adapted. Its most
Remember that
curious
bully from high
feature
school?
are the arms
This is him
it
now.
inherited from its ancestor, which are angled
Not any bit
downwards,
different.
unlike those of most other flying wyverns. Instead of using them for flight, the Tigrex instead possesses massive arm muscles that are specialized for terrestrial locomotion, allowing it to run at speeds of over 50 kilometers an hour. The membranes are thin and weak, and while they
50
can be
kilometers
used
an
for
hour?
clumsy flight, they're
Can
mostly
somebody
there to help
convert
the
that to
T-Rex
American,
glide
please?
a small distance after a high jump. The weakness of this membrane is what distinguishes Tigrex from its two most closely related genuses, Nargacuga and Barioth, both of which display much more developed and functional
Oh,
wing
31,
membranes.
and that was actually like...
That is why on newer phylogenies,
For some
they
reason
are
I thought it
grouped
was like closer to
separately
like 20.
into Verpes viperia, or true foot wyvern, and Mempes viperia, or false foot wyvern, respectively. The Tigrex's wing membranes have actually caused some debate over why they are even still there. Their ability to facilitate flight is so underdeveloped, underused, and marginal that they should have just been selected away in the eons since the Wyvern Rex's reign.
You could
Their
just like me
continued
for real.
presence across that period of time must mean that they still fulfill
At least I'm not
some
alone.
purpose. There are a few hypotheses. It's possible that the wing membranes are sexual display organs, with the quality and appearance of them impacting mate selection. Another possibility was proposed after a researcher
Sexual mention? Oh my, look at that. Look at that vein structure.
noticed that the Tigrex
I
always
see it now.
unfolds its membranes before beginning a sprint. So perhaps the
Wait,
membranes
no, not again. No, don't tell me. First the Nargacuga and then now the Tigrex. This is the second time it's being like, oh yeah, it's like, I don't know. It just becomes sexual for some reason.
provide balance and stability while running at top speeds. More research is, however, still very necessary to know for certain. The front limbs that uphold that membrane, meanwhile, seem quite clear in their purpose. They facilitate movement on land.
No, it's not clear at this point. It's not clear when you're like, its wing flaps, its membranes are there for like sexual prominence and meat selection, and then it's like, okay, now it sprints at your top speed and like flares out its wing membranes right after you talked about it. There's no coincidence.
And serve as the
Nah.
T-Rex's primary weapons.
Nah.
Its enormous claws are deadly and get sharper the more they are used. As of the current record, these are the largest claws of any mid-sized flying wyvern, and can easily be identified by a striped pattern. Both front limbs also have a small, hard-to-notice thumb, which is quite weak and stiff. It seems to mostly serve as a balancing aid while walking. A less conspicuous but equally surprising feature is the Tigrex's skin, which sits under a suit of impressive scale armor. The scales are massive and jagged, so much so that they can cause cuts and slashes to anything the Tigrex even just grazes while running. But the skin is what truly fascinated researchers. Under close inspection, the Tigrex's skin is not actually adapted to the cold at all. Instead,
yeah, that's why the monster can just run at you
to a desert
and make you
dwelling
bleed.
creature.
Man.
This was the final puzzle piece needed to unravel the myths that surrounded Poke Village. The
You see that? That's me on the bottom right here. That's me. Yep. Especially in where this thing is
appeared periodically,
evil.
not as some kind
He
of
should be
curse,
extinct.
but because it doesn't actually inhabit the snowy mountains consistently. This realization prompted further investigation until a fairly complete image of the Tigrex's lifestyle could be constructed.
Top left.
The genus Tigrex, containing all species of Tigrex, likely emerged in desert or badland areas at first. They were powerful and highly active creatures, with an enormous appetite as a result. That appetite eventually led the Tigrex to becoming increasingly nomadic, venturing outside of its usual desert habitat in search of more prey. Over the generations, Tigrex were able to invade nearly any kind of habitat due to how mobile and powerful they are, with many ecosystems not having any apex predators that are strong enough to rival it. Tigrex, however, are not permanent invaders.
I mean, it makes sense,
They
right?
follow
Apex
their
wasn't
appetite
released then.
relentlessly, which means that once they have satisfied their hunger, they will quickly leave any given area to move on to the next one. This behavior actually aids in their dominance paradoxically, as over time, many creatures that live in habitats the Tigrex invades regularly have learned that the best way to deal with the Tigrex is to simply avoid it and wait until it leaves. As a result, very few monsters even attempt to push back against the Tigrex entering their territory, giving the wyvern free rein to hunt as it pleases. Nowadays, Tigrex are known to appear in essentially every possible ecosystem, across both the
Oh
new
no, these
and
things
the
are a
old world.
blight on the world.
While some monsters still challenge them to turf wars, especially in the New World, they are generally able to invade any area to their heart's content. One way to predict if a Tigrex is going to appear in any one region is to ask if there are any popo populations nearby.
Any popo?
These large herbivores seem to attract Tigrex more than any other food source, and are likely the reason the wyvern is so often sighted in the Furahia Mountains specifically. Why the Tigrex seems to prefer popo as prey is not known, but some key observations have been made. While the Tigrex is fast
she
and
gonna
strong, it seems to struggle predating on small and nimble prey, as for example Kelby have been seen outmaneuvering them. So perhaps it prefers large, clumsy herbivores as prey due to the relative ease of hunting them. The popo might just really hit that sweet spot then. Once a Tigrex has invaded an area, it will hang around for some time until it feels that it has had its fill. Contrary to common belief, Tigrex are actually quite relaxed and calm creatures most of the time. Other apex monsters don't harass it, and it usually has no real competition, so whenever it isn't disturbed or hungry, the Tigrex tends to just lounge around and relax out in the open, occasionally sharpening its claws and teeth on rocks it finds. The Tigrex is not aggressive by nature,
It's
but
not
rather it is highly
aggressive.
food motivated. This subtle
Can I just use that as an excuse? I wasn't being aggressive. I was just motivated.
difference means that when its needs
Okay,
are met,
Virgil.
the Tigrex is a far cry from the ferocious menace often described in guild textbooks. It is only once the hunger sets in that the
Yeah,
Tigrex
it's
displays
just
the temper
motivated
it is infamous
by
for.
the violence.
The hunting strategy of a Tigrex is extremely simple. Find prey
Find prey, run.
and kill it. It does not bother with ambushes and complicated strategies, as the wyvern knows that its immense strength will more often than not carry it to victory one way or another.
Ain't no way.
I'm killing you. I'm killing you. I don't care about anything else. I don't give a shit about anything else. My programming is just get that fucking guy right now. It doesn't, there is no like, oh, he's running, I'll back off a little. No, it's just, until I get like, horrifying. It's like a nightmare.
That's a strategy.
Some scholars have even theorized that the adrenaline rush of missing that first attack and watching prey try to escape might be pleasurable to the Tigrex and aid in their mental well-being.
That would have been
For
perfect. They
easy
should
prey
do this
such
the
as
German
popo,
monster
the
now.
basic tactic of the Tigrex is to chase it down until close enough and then leap onto it with its full body weight. If this move lands, the popo is crushed into a mess of blood and bone, which the Tigrex then feasts on. Using its arms to hold the meal in place, the Tigrex then sinks its teeth into the corpse. Its pointy, short teeth aren't actually very good at ripping through flesh, so the Tigrex simply latches on with its powerful jaws and then violently jerks its head backwards, shredding a chunk of flesh out of the cadaver. This motion is facilitated
yeah, you
by
look at that.
specialized loose
They're
skin
kind of cute
around
if
its
you
neck.
look at it closer, you know? Look at how
Eating
small
habits
the
such
legs
as
are, too.
these are extremely messy, and as a result,
It-
tigrex leave
I didn't
extremely
even hear that,
distinct
Danny. Ain't
predation
no
marks
way.
wherever they appear. Not every encounter is this easy,
Pink
however.
Rathian, yeah.
Some powerful monsters may still challenge the tigrex when they meet. Some prey may
Pink
attempt
for
to fight
powerful.
back. And, of course, a team of hunters may be dispatched to hunt down a tigrex. Not only are they an obvious threat if they appear near a settlement, tigrex materials are also invaluable for many industrial purposes. The skin under its scale armor is particularly highly sought after. Its natural
Wait, are
heat
they saying her
resistance
jacket
makes
is made
it
out
the
of tigrex?
perfect material for blacksmithing gloves.
It actually
Whatever
is, ain't
form
no
the
way.
challenge may take, the tigrex will meet it head-on. It will charge at enemies directly, attempting to either trample them or cut them with its jagged scales. Those
Yep,
same scales
there it
also
is.
offer some serious defense, especially against man-made weaponry such as swords. With mouth agape, it lunges at opponents to cleave them in half with its powerful bite, which is able to break solid rock. Using its arms as propellant forces, the tigrex will twirl around to hit enemies with its spiked tail. And even at a distance, it
They're
is
one and
not
the
without
same.
a
They're
weapon.
almost like spirit
By
animals.
plunging its arms into the ground, it can dislodge and launch massive boulders and debris at targets. This attack is deadly, and has been noted to have a range of over 30 meters. But its most powerful weapon is
Who's your
tied
spirit
to its
animal monster? And don't
intelligence.
say Black Diablos.
Despite its brutish demeanor, the tigrex is a cunning and smart monster that makes ample use of any advantage it can find. And this pairs particularly well with its secret trump card. The tigrex has something the guild calls a viosonic
Honestly,
system,
I
more
had the same answer,
colloquially
Mal.
known
Not
as a
gonna lie.
roar sac. This
Roar sac?
umbrella term refers to a variety of reinforcement structures surrounding the tigrex's airways, pectoral muscles, and lungs. These specializations allow the tigrex to compress the air in its lungs before routing it through its vocal box. The result is a deafening roar that can be heard for miles. Because this vocalization uses highly compressed airwaves, it cannot be easily blocked or muffled by regular means, and the sheer speed and power of the shockwave is enough to rattle even large creatures and other wyverns. And once a target is disoriented from its roar, the tigrex can move in for the kill. Using these sonic booms strategically, the tigrex can stun and subsequently annihilate nearly any opponent. The large head of the tigrex is in fact interpreted as an adaptation to this power. The skull bones are extremely thick in order to withstand the power of its own roar. Very rarely, a tigrex might encounter a truly worthy foe, a creature that can back it into a corner. In such cases, the roaring wyvern has one last ace up its sleeve. The tigrex already has a very high metabolism, but when sufficiently enraged, it can push its circulation and bodily functions to their limits. In this state, its blood vessels enlarge and become visible, and the wyvern's speed and power increase many-fold. This natural doping can quickly turn the tide of battle, but it comes at a cost. It raises the tigrex's body temperature dangerously, and its skin becomes more vulnerable due to increased blood flow. Luckily, this ability is usually capable of making short work of any assailant. While the tigrex is undoubtedly one of the best researched monsters the guild has on record, it still holds many mysteries. For example, much remains unknown about the viosonic system. For some reason, it decays extremely quickly after the tigrex dies, and so it has so far been very difficult to study its structure and mechanism. Another mystery is the purpose of those protrusions on the head of the tigrex. They look like ears, and are roughly located where one would expect an ear canal to be present. That one aside, different theories suggest that they may be used to shield the eyes of the T-Rex from weather and debris. Some scholars have suggested.
Thank you, Natsuki Suzumi. I'm glad you're enjoying our Monster Hunter Ecology.
Suggested that perhaps.
See? You know how it is.
It has
Knowledge
again
brings us
something to do
together.
with sexual selection. One landmark study even proposed they may be relevant for further communication. The researchers observed that two T-Rex had invaded the same region at the same time, and yet they did not engage in any kind of territorial aggression towards each other. The two T-Rex were noted to have slightly different head protrusions. So perhaps these structures serve as identifiers and communication organs, but more research is necessary either way. Being a creature that is both extremely successful and has a wide habitat range, one might expect the T-Rex to diversify. But its evolutionary history has been generally defined by a lack of change, and so the T-Rex's all-rounder body plan does not seem to experience strong alterations based on habitat. Additionally, strong ecological pressures are usually associated with a consistent habitat exerting them, but since T-Rex are always on the move, they are unlikely to specialize into any one environment. Within the common species, T-Rex rugietum, some subtle differences across populations have been, however, noted. Two regional variations have thus been proposed, based on the continent that they are found on.
Are we gonna have an
Old world
Alolan
T-Rex
T-Rex?
are fairly slim and lean, with their muscle mass not being particularly visible. More importantly, these are the most flighted of all T-Rex. They can fly by clumsily flapping their wings, and have been observed using this ability rarely but consistently. They also walk on two legs when calm, and only transition into their quadruped stance when hunting or traveling long distances. New World T-Rex, meanwhile, are much bulkier, with their muscles being clearly visible through their skin. They might also be heavier on average as a result.
No, they don't. No, it's... Wait,
Perhaps
not even
for that
Old World?
reason, these T-Rex have never been seen flying, and they also do
They
not
just
seem to ever
stand up?
display a bipedal stance. They only ever walk on
Yeah,
all
they just
fours.
walk like Vitalis, you know?
Now, while it is true that the T-Rex migratory lifestyle makes adaptive speciation unlikely, that fact also naturally implies that should a population of T-Rex ever settle in a specific environment, they would probably begin specializing over time like any other creature. The all-rounder nature of the T-Rex is optimal for life in an ever-changing variety of habitats, but it would likely be outcompeted by specialized T-Rex individuals in any singular, consistent habitat.
Okay, let's go see it. Let's see the big bad
Naturally, this
T-Rexes.
hypothesis led to another research
We're the
frenzy,
deviant among
as every
deviants.
scholar worth their salt wanted to be the
Here
one
we
to
go.
discover a new species of T-Rex. At last, nearly an entire generation after the first T-Rex was described in the mountains near Poke, a second kind of T-Rex was finally observed. This subspecies was dubbed brute T-Rex. While the common T-Rex has one of the widest habitat ranges out of any known
We even have
monster,
this in World
the
2.
brute T-Rex has a much
Pookie
narrower one.
Village, yay!
It is exclusively found in hot zones, such as deserts and
Whoa.
volcanic regions, and seems to be specialized more prominently for the latter environment. Just as scholars had predicted, this subspecies had traded in the jack-of-all-trades build of the common species for a more specialized body that helps it thrive in one specific place. And the nature
Actually,
of those
I think it's actually
specializations
kind of hot.
is quite fascinating indeed. The most striking feature of the brute T-Rex is its coloration. While the common species sports an iconic orange skin with blue stripes, this subspecies
Hotter
is
zones,
generally
watch out,
quite
Nico.
dark.
We might get a boutique on your
The
streams.
operative
No
word
way.
is generally. here because brute Tigrex coloration actually varies greatly between individuals. Some are brown.
See, that's why
and
the
gray.
T-Rex is
Some
coming
are
towards the
pitch
screen. It's
black
going to
with
the hot
hints
zones right now.
of metallic blue, and some even have fiery
It's
orange
attracted to you
stripes
guys.
on top of dark brown skin. This great degree of variation long confused researchers until juvenile brute Tigrex were observed. When born, brute Tigrex are actually all gray in color.
He really said it. He said the line. He said the line.
Brute Tigrex are actually all
actually.
gray in color. This skin has a special property that allows it to fuse aerosol particles onto itself passively, building itself up in layers over the wyvern's lifetime. The coloration of an adult brute Tigrex is thus dependent on what specific materials were in the air as it grew up. Brute Tigrex
I don't think I'm ever gonna get tired of that.
deserts generally remain quite gray and light, as sand and desert dust don't seem to fuse all too readily with the skin. Volcanic brute Tigrex, meanwhile, grow many layers of skin built from volcanic ash and metal dust, which seem to fuse quite easily, perhaps aided by the ambient heat emanated from various lava pools. But even in one habitat, there can be great color variation. It all depends on the exact mixture of aerosol particles present during the fusion process. It seems to play a bigger role in the life of the volcanic brute Tigrex, as the layered skin gives it increasingly superior heat protection and can even repel magma for a short amount of
then
time.
I'm gonna say it breathes fire too, right?
It being darker than the desert variation's skin is probably also useful as camouflage among the volcanic rock. In terms of research, this property is also valuable as a method of determining the age of a brute Tigrex. Since the skin develops in layers that are distinct in color and material, a cross-section of skin material can reveal how many times the skin has been layered, thus hinting at the owner's age and even the precise habitats that they may have traversed. However, perhaps the biggest difference between this subspecies and the common Tigrex is entirely invisible, until it's too late. The brute Tigrex's biosonic system is enhanced manyfold over that of the common species, with additional folds and valves that can compress air
I envy
beyond
people
what
that
is
can
usually
roll their
possible
R's really
inside
well.
of a living body.
Because if I could do the same,
This
I'd
results
roll
in
every
roars
single
so powerful
R
that they can outright
for as long as I
shatter the
can.
bones of smaller victims through the shockwave alone.
Especially
These bellows can be heard far and wide, even over the rumbling of erupting volcanoes.
Yeah, I would. I
and
would.
it is believed that it developed exactly
I
for
would.
that purpose, to not be overshadowed by the environment.
You're talking about
Like
me
the
here.
common species, the brute Tigrex use these roars as powerful weapons, not just to stun prey, but to harm it directly with the blasts. Some brute Tigrex become so proficient at this that they can even aim their roars as tunnels of concentrated shockwaves, pulverizing smaller enemies near instantly. This powerful ability
What kind of
does
dog is that? Oh, this one is the brute Tigrex. I think we named this one Daisy.
necessitate some preparation, however. Unlike the common
I'd like to
species,
see a duck.
brute Tigrex seem to have to take an extremely deep breath before they can perform these sky-shattering roars. Power like this comes at a cost.
Oh no.
In order to perform this feat, the body of the brute Tigrex had to change and adapt. Every single bodily function is enhanced to prioritize maximum performance. Muscles are dense and strong, and the cardiopulmonary system is continuously working in overdrive to provide the necessary oxygen and nutrients. This
Power.
results in the brute Tigrex being overall
Comes with
much stronger and
responsibility.
faster than the common species, but it also incurs a heavy toll. While its body is optimized for power and output, it's also extremely energy inefficient. The muscles especially guzzle up so much fuel that various other functions suffer. Most notably, the ability to maintain body temperature. Due to this, the brute T-Rex is effectively an ectotherm, also known as cold-blooded. It quite simply cannot feed its muscles and heat its body at the same time.
I mean, it is a lizard.
This
It
is
kind of makes
likely
sense
why they
to me.
stick to hot environments. They need to maintain their body heat by absorbing it from the outside. Based on this, researchers have proposed the following evolutionary history for the brute T-Rex. At some point in the distant past, a population of T-Rex, or a common ancestor,
But of
migrated
course.
into a volcanic region and, for reasons unknown, ended up staying there.
I don't think that's a
Over
dog
time,
anymore.
the need to have their roars
I
still be
guess not.
effective among the
I think at
ambient
that point it
noise
becomes a
of a
hot dog.
volcano began favoring T-Rex with naturally enhanced biosonic systems, thus selecting for that specific adaptation. As the generations passed, the roar became more and more powerful, and the rest of the body developed to power and facilitate that ability. But in that process, these T-Rex lost the ability to maintain their body temperature and essentially became stuck in the volcanic regions. While those that tried to migrate likely perished as soon as they reached cold climates, those that stayed began to specialize further. They developed a dark skin that could not only fuse with aerosol materials for protection, but that would also aid in heat absorption from the sun due to the dark coloration. Over time, this resulted in the brute T-Rex we know today. This stuck in the volcano hypothesis seems to be supported by the continued lack